welcome to Crashing Convos. This podcast is all about exploring the ups and downs of life, wellness, resilience, and everything in between through the arts of conversation. We'll also dive into deep discussions on existential questions, philosophical thoughts, and how we are a part of something bigger. By sharing my experiences along with those of my guests, I hope to bring you inspiration and a sense of direction through connection, which may help the listener begin to understand and unravel some situations they may be facing. To support this podcast, please subscribe, like, or share with someone you feel it may help. Thank you for your time and your presence. Hey, welcome back to another episode of Crashing Convos. Welcome, Tyler Meade. Peregrine Rising was founded by Dr. Tyler, who holds a doctorate in sport and performance psychology, a master's of science in sport and health sciences, and has competed in competitive team sports at the collegiate level, such as ice hockey and individual sports, triathlon, CrossFit, and in motorsports such as rock crawling. He worked as the lead researcher and presenter at Resilience Through Movement Foundation, giving seminars to coaches and athletes on the science behind the benefits of physical activity for mental health. He has given leadership talks to sports teams and professionals, using his military, athletic, and life experiences to demonstrate how mental performance skills go beyond the field through how they apply to life. At Peregrine Rising Mental Performance, they believe that building stronger athletes begins with building stronger people. Their mission is to help athletes not only sharpen their mental skills for sport, but also apply those same skills to life beyond the game. To find out more, please see the link in the description below. Welcome, Tyler.
Hey, thank you. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. Feels like a bit of deja vu right now.
Hey, that's all right.
But
good reps.
Yeah, good reps. So as I was as I was saying earlier before we got on, like I used some of the skills that you taught me back in 2021, last time I had you on, and that was kind of using a cue, right, to go into whatever setting, to have the right intent and the right, like kind of lock it in your mind, like, hey, we're about to do this thing, and this is the thing we're doing, and like, let's go, and then turn it off at the end of it. And I've used it in mountain biking, which was the time you suggested it, and to turn it on and turn it off. And then recently, about a year ago, I started jiu-jitsu and MMA. And within that, I've been, as I was talking about earlier, I've been kind of lackadaisical, going into the gym. And it's not to say that I wasn't present and trying to absorb as much as I can, but I was just kind of like a fly on the wall. Like beforehand, I would do my own warm up and stretching and stuff like that, but I didn't really have the right mindset going into it. And it wasn't until a conversation I had with my wife about intent and like kind of going into whatever setting with that presence in mind. We had a coach, a talk with our top black belt, or the main black belt, and he was just talking about him noticing the difference between the fundamental days, which is Tuesdays and Thursdays where we go, and then the other days, right, where it's just like regular class, and how that atmosphere was different than the fundamentals day. Fundamentals day was kind of more lackadaisical. So I took away, plus he has the presence in mind. You know, it's his. I took it away kind of like, you know, back in the day, you watch those martial art films, right? I don't know if you watched them growing up.
Oh yeah, Bloodsport.
Yeah, Bloodsport. But the coach, right, is just like, you're never doing anything right. You have to earn every inch. You have to, and he's not necessarily with that mindset, but he does carry that presence, right? And so he noted that like the classes that when I do go, like most of the classes just kind of like 6 days ago. And I was like, you know what, he's right. So the conversation with my wife the other day, I used something you taught me. And I walked in right before class, right? I even put headphones in, driving there to try to get my mind right? And I didn't feel great that day. It was just kind of like, I wanted to stay home. It was cold, whatever. But then before class, I showed up, and then my wife went inside, and I kind of just stood outside, and I was trying to find the right word to cue it up, set the intent. And it was like 2 words: fighter's mentality. And it's going in with the right, you know, level of it, right? Because you don't want to go too hard, or like, but it was just like, hey, this is what I'm here to do. I took my jump rope this day. I started jump roping. I had a plan in mind, so to speak. And I did that all the way up into class. I rode with somebody like before class, and then we got into class, and then I chose somebody that I normally avoid because they're very like spazzy, right? And not to say I'm not, but it was just like, no, like if I get in a street fight, I'm not going to fight somebody that's going to be controlled and kind of be real fluid, right? I'm
Right.
going to be with somebody that's just trying to whip my ass. So I chose, like, I was like, whatever, right? I'll deal with it. I roll with him. I was smoked. Then after class, I did some more jump roping. I did some more class, and then I rode with somebody else, and then we did MMA. And then I could have stopped, man, because I found every reason, right? Like I could stop right now, but no, like I'm gonna add one more. I'm gonna cash out with 100 jump ropes, right?
Nice.
And that's what I did. And after that, man, like, so it was different. And I attribute that to you and the tip you taught me.
I appreciate that.
Yeah, man. So I went in with that. I went through the entire session, the 3 hours or whatever it was, and then I closed it, and then I just felt like accomplished at the end of it, right? And I just felt like I really got I don't want to say my money's worth, but I got more out of that class than any other class because I was with the right mindset. So I got to thank you for that and what you taught me back in 2021.
Oh man, I appreciate that. But I think that's amazing that you saw that shift, and that's really the key. There is the self awareness, right? So the biggest thing that I do with athletes and that I do with anyone I'm working with is building this self awareness of all the cues their bodies are giving them, and then they can also give those cues. So you had the you listed a couple of things. You went there one with intent. You knew you had the mindset like, I'm going to make this conscious shift in my mindset so that my bandwidth is totally focused on the class, which is allowing you to basically broaden how much information you can digest while you're in there. And it's going to free up a lot of energy because your brain's not juggling all the things outside of class, which is really great. Number two is you found words that you relate to. You weren't throwing things out there that you heard in a movie, into the mechanism
Yeah.
or things like that.
Natsukao. Yeah.
But you found something that fit what you needed. And this works like a switch because we can train our brains like, hey, I'm going in here. When I hit this specific switch, this changes my intent. For me, it's Enter Sandman because pretty much every warm up for hockey was Enter Sandman growing up. So I hear that song and that's a switch that's flipped and I'm conscious of it. I'm like, oh man, I'm amped. I'm ready to do something because that's something that I developed over years and years of playing hockey growing up. Now, as you go there, you started layering it, which is what I really liked. You had headphones going on. Headphones do two things. Number one, they cancel out the environment around you and allow you to focus internally on developing, preparing for that switch to be flipped. And then two, you can control your arousal levels depending on the music. I don't know what you're listening to. You're down south, maybe some good country, or maybe you're going with the metal, but you have something that you personally can relate to that can like augment your energy levels up and down. And it's fun to play with. Now, what's key is you can hit that switch multiple times. So if you notice that your focus starts going, you can step out, take that quick breath. You don't have to do like box breathing and spend multiple minutes sitting there trying to get your breath resonant with your heart rate and everything. But what you can do, take one quick breath, bring it in, push it out. And when it goes out, that focus just comes right back in. You hit your cue word again to flip that switch, and then you go back into game mode.
Yeah. You know what kind of brought it to mind? Have you seen that movie For Love of the Game?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. You know when he talks and he just says, clear the mechanism?
Yep.
I think that's what he says.
Clear the Yeah, I quoted it wrong. I said into the mechanism, but like that is 100% just the perfect imagery of flipping that switch.
I thought about you when I was watching that movie because I saw it like maybe like about a month ago, and I was just like, just tying the two together, because it's interesting how we see movies or something back in the day and we don't have the experience to understand what's going on.
Yeah.
And then like fast forward, right? We watch it again, like, that's what Tyler was talking about. Okay.
I mean, who was it? Heraclitus, who said like you never step in the same river twice because it's not the same
Yeah,
river and you're not the same man.
that's true.
I can't remember who said that, but hopefully someone can correct that.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure we could Google it or something. But yeah,
Technology.
I've heard that before, and that's very true. And I do feel like every interaction that we have, we leave a changed person. Like it's every moment or anything we watch, it changes us, like whether we realize it or not. And I think that's why curating either our socials or the music we listen to or what have you um, is huge, because it can affect us negatively or positively depending on which way. But yeah, it's pretty crazy.
It's amazing how much control that you actually have over your mindset and your focus going in. I was talking with another cognitive performance coach, a guy who I'm kind of looking to towards mentorship right now. He worked with fighter pilots previously, and he was really talking about when they were going out there and they were dealing with like negative perception and negative self-talk and negative thoughts. He would ask them, do you fly in bad weather? And they would say, well, of course I'm going to fly in bad weather. Like we have to go do the mission. He's like, sometimes that bad thought, that negative thought that you're having is just bad weather. If you're not able to remove it, you're not able to get rid of it. You just need to understand, like, you can still perform, you can still do your job, and you can still meet your intent and your goal. You just have to refocus on what that intent is and not focus on the storm around you.
Yeah, that's like a form of meditation, right? It's going back to the breath, but in this way, it's the intent. So it's like any distractions that kind of pull you away from it. It's like bring it back to why you're there.
Oh, absolutely. As long as you understand your intent and you have purpose, you can think about it in two ways. I'm going towards my goal. I'm going towards my intent. Everything I'm doing is either taking you towards it or away from it. So where's your mind going? Is it pushing you towards your end state, your desired goal, or is it pulling you away? If it's pulling you away, then maybe we need to bring that focus back into going towards your desired goal with your intent.
Yeah, and it's easier said than done, but it's definitely a skill set that is needs to be practiced. And I say that because recently I started the routine of waking up in the morning, and then I was waking up every morning, reading my daily devotional, and then reading like a part of the Bible, and then listening to a small podcast. It's like 5 to 7 minutes. It's called the Daily Blade. That was gave suggested to me by another buddy of mine. And but either way, we had the snowstorm, or not snowstorm, but we had the ice storm,
Yeah.
whatever, this weekend. So we had family come over, my brother-in-law and my nephew, and we kind of took the advantage of it, kind of spent time with each other. He's always busy. We're always busy. And we kind of just did like movie day, right? We kind of just hung out, watched movies, and kind of had conversations and stuff. And it was a good time. But we ended up staying up later. So our routine was thrown off. And then I stopped doing my morning routines. And that's something that stuck with me. It was just like, what? It's fine when everything's perfect, right? When there are no distractions. But when it really matters is when there, like, there's these different variables that are kind of throwing off your day, and how do you stick with it, right? And it boils down to discipline and how important it is to me to do those things. So definitely took so to your point, that's what I was talking about. Like, it it sounds all well and good in a perfect setting, but how do you do it when the weather's bad,
Yeah.
right?
And I think that's a question that a lot of people aren't asking. So, we just had the new year. We're coming to the end of the first month of the new year. A lot of people are struggling with those resolutions that they set, whether it's go to gym, eat healthy, read a book a month, whatever it was. Like they're at that point where to make that habit fully owned and internalized by them, they're struggling with it. But when you look at it, like we can take a pretty big lesson from the military. What's something that all military members do when you plan? What else do you plan for? You have your actual mission you're planning for, and then what are those variables you're planning for?
The things that throw your mission off, pretty
Yeah,
much.
there's contingencies, right?
Right.
So what impact can all these variables have, and then what are we going to do if they happen? So a lot of times, a simple step that guys can take. I want to read my devotion. So I read the Liturgy of the Hours every day, morning and night. I read Liturgy of the Hours, which is a collection of psalms, hymns. It has a reading from other areas of the Bible, and then a set prayers throughout the year. Now, what's great about this is these are the same prayers that are being prayed by all of the religious, like brothers and sisters and priests throughout the world, and
Mm.
I'm in communion praying with them. Same psalms, same hymns every day. But when I made that when I made that intent, that goal, I want to pray morning and evening prayer, I had to sit down and say, okay, my job is flexible. Like I might be working with an athlete late. I might be meeting with an athlete early, staying up late, doing paperwork, kind of preparing. What am I going to do if I don't have time to pull out the actual book and read? And then go through this contingency list. Well, I can use Divine Office, which is an app, and I can listen to it while I'm driving to wherever I'm going. I can set alerts on my phone. For me, I'm very much a let me check the box. So I found an app that actually tracks your habits. You check it each day for the whatever you list on there. Like I have morning, evening prayer. I have strength workout, endurance workout, and a few other things, but it shows me my habit with a 1 year block of time so I can actually see how it's going. And then what I noticed last year while doing it was that when I missed one day, it usually wasn't one day, it was like 3 or 4 days. And then I had to fight to get back into it. Um, and that's the big thing because, like, isn't that how it rolls? Like, you hit a speed bump, you hit that hiccup, bad weather out, and all of a sudden your running shoes get put away. You're cleaning up, and it's just not as easy to get started again, but you have to get started again. So having those contingencies in place and knowing what you can do if your pre-planned method of, or approach is kind of hindered is the key to success there. Sure, it's not sitting down and opening up your devotional book in the morning, but is there a devotional podcast that I would consider equivalent? Is there
Mm.
another time in the morning that I can set aside where if I have to show up early to work, I know I'm going to have a 15-minute block at this time that I'll be able to sit down and go through my devotional or what you have going on.
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, yeah. So I talked about, and I'm going somewhere with this, but I talked about drinking some old orange juice right this weekend,
Yeah.
and that threw me for a loop. And so I'm in that process right now. Like yesterday, I kind of just like pretty much recovered all day, and yeah. So I'm in that process right now. My word today for like finding like getting the train moving again and in that direction, because I found out it, as you say, that it's a lot harder to kind of get that momentum forward, right? And if
Oh
I
yeah.
take any breaks or anything, I've noticed that like I start to allow more things to kind of fall off, and it doesn't make me feel good. So it's my word for today was, whether it's rightly used or not, but it was like inertia, to build that inertia again, like kind of get that all those carts on the train, those box carts moving again. So
Yeah, I
that's my
like
word
that.
for today. Yeah. Because each day I'm trying to find a word to um, yeah. And I'm working with a life coach right now, um, and that's something I want to go to school for, is a life health coach, because I'm kind of in that space anyways, like talking with folks and vets and stuff. So I might as well get the kind of tools under my belt, right, and understand a little bit more. So that way I kind of know a little bit what I'm talking about.
Awesome.
But yeah, today's word was like inertia, right, and trying to keep that train moving forward. So one of the things that I'm very interested in hearing about is The article you wrote about injury and identity
Oh yeah.
with athletes.
So that's actually pretty a pretty heavy topic, right? Like working with athletes, I've been working more with high school players, which is crazy because they're getting like ACL injuries younger and younger. I was just talking to a softball catcher, and she had a full like ACL tear and surgery, but
Mm.
they're still trying to like get her ready for the summer camps and things like that. And that's one thing I've been noticing is that that's been happening. So while I'm having these conversations, I'm trying to give advice to parents and coaches and to the players themselves. But the main thing that we need to understand is that there is a huge identity shift when you have a either a season. It doesn't have to be a full season ending, but when you can't step out on that field or out on the rink again for at least a time period, you have a pretty major identity shift. You're challenged. Can I still be the player who was out here yesterday? Can I still perform? Where is my worth to be found? And a lot of people that find their worth in that sport. You know, they find their worth in stepping out on the field as a starter. It's not uh it's not just being a student. It's not just going through high school and graduating, moving on to college or whatever they choose to do. But a lot of people find their worth in that identity as the athlete. And then in that specific sport and in that specific position. So now you're dealing with an identity crisis that all of a sudden it's severed, and not severed in a slow way. Like I know graduation's coming up, but severed abruptly in a way that they're not prepared for. So my approach personally when I'm working with these athletes, when I'm working with the coaches, one, try to show them how they're still tied into the team. They're still a element of the team while they're not the person going out in the field in that moment. They still have something that they can offer the team. They still have worth to the team. They have something that they provide that can help the team work towards victory and towards the team goals, right? They need to know that their worth as a person is more than just what they did on the field. So one of the athletes I was working with was a captain. So that was hard. So how do I lead when I'm not on the field was the first question I got when I was working with her. And very abruptly said, you don't have to be on the field to lead. You don't have to be on the field to mentor, to share your knowledge. And then the second piece was, I'm going to be so far behind by the time I get back on the field because she had to wait till the following season to get back on the field. Now, when we look at that, there's a few things that we can actually do to prepare our minds and bodies to get back on the field, right? And this goes for any sport. It doesn't matter if you're playing a team sport, if you're playing soccer, baseball, football, ice hockey, or if you're doing an individual sport, so doing mountain biking or you're doing triathlons or anything like that, you can still do things like visualization, which actually can create these neural connections in your mind and neural connections in your body so that when you go back onto the field, the relearning period isn't as long. If there's new plays, you'd be going through the playbook and use imagery and visualization, two different things. We can go over that later if you want, but going through the play, not just from the first person view, what am I seeing as the athlete on the field, but what am I seeing from the other positions? They can increase their sport IQ by looking at that same play, looking at themselves from an external perspective, from defense of the other team, from another position on their own team. Where are the lanes that I don't normally see? How do I open up my peripherals to have better vision of the field and things like that? And then a big piece is setting goals, like proper goals that they can follow, not just a goal of I'm going to return to sport, but setting the layers of goals. What are the daily steps I can take? What are those monthly goals that I'm looking to accomplish? And then what's that end state goal? Is it to return? Or is it to return at a similar level that I was performing? Because if it's that latter one, it's going to take more time. And a lot of times they're going to rush it. But by setting those layers of goals, by accomplishing those step goals all the way there, it's going to allow them to take the appropriate time because they know I have to accomplish these tasks before I can reach that final goal. And then a big piece that I was working on is their fear of re-injury. Like that's a lot of weight to carry, right? Like I
Yeah.
just had a major injury. I just maybe they had surgery, maybe they missed an entire season. What am I going to do to build confidence back in my own body? So now they're doubting their own body. Like my body failed me once. I tore an ACL. I tore my rotator cuff. I, dislocated something. My body failed me. How can I trust that in the future it's time to compete? I can do it. And I'm not going to fail my team because they might be associating that as failing the team. So these are like the major things that we have to deal with. And each one is its own hurdle and its own mountain that you have to accomplish, but it all starts with the identity. What is your identity as a person? What's your identity as an athlete? Who are you in the team? Uh, and then going into that, let's think about this. So think back to like high school, the last time you're on a team sport and a dude tore something in his knee, messed up his shoulder, messed up his back. Like, were they on the sidelines?
I believe so. Yeah. Well, sometimes I remember sometimes they weren't. A lot of
Yeah.
times they weren't actually.
So a lot of times I was thinking back myself, like, hey, I was on a hockey team. Like I would see my buddies in the stands. I had a buddy who we were getting ready to go out on a shift. One guy hopped the boards and his skate went right across the other guy's forearm and just sliced his forearm. Pretty
Ooh.
gnarly. A few stitches. He was only out for a couple weeks, but like he watched from the stands. He didn't come to practice. He wasn't at the key team events when we wore our uniforms to school. He didn't wear his uniform because he wasn't playing that day. So think about all the different areas he was just left out of and all those touch points he lost with his team, which is his support structure, right?
Hmm.
So a major step we can take is how do we stay connected to the team?
Yeah. Yeah. And as you were talking about all those things, one, I was thinking about all the injuries I remember seeing, and then secondly, like the injuries that I've sustained as well. And then thirdly, like I wonder when you're talking about each individual thing that you have to overcome, and then there's all these other variables, right? That like some of the parents potentially that could be like trying to force their child, you know, to be ready sooner than they should be. And I'm not saying that's the case, but there's all these other things, and then how they were brought up, right? Like their values,
Yeah.
that they got brought up with, like, and how they internalize failure, or not even failure, but like injuries and that says about them. Man, that's so complex. And like how deep do you go in, like, in the questionnaires, just to like really troubleshoot and understand where they're at, to kind of give them a good foothold forward.
So a big piece is, um, hey, as they reveal it, we'll address it. Like
Mm,
I'm not going to go digging. I'm going to give them knowledge. I'm going to give them my understanding. But my goal is to allow them to reveal the hurdle that they're facing at that time. So if, excuse me, imagine I just throw all those hurdles at them, right? I'm like, hey, here's all the things you're facing. Bam, right there in your face. Like that's system overload.
yeah,
But
it's fair.
if I show up and you say I'm really concerned about re-injury and I don't feel like I can do these drills, cool. We will address that right now. Let's go into it. Like, where are you right now? So anytime I meet with someone, I'm going to ask them 3 questions. Super simple. Where are you right now? I want to know mentally, where are you? Are you present here for training? Are you back at school? Are you at the hospital after you got injured? Are you dealing with something back at home? Once I can get them fully present, if they're not there on the field or wherever we're meeting, then we'll work on getting them present. Once they're present, then we can start addressing what they're feeling in the moment. A couple times we've had that discussion once we brought them into the moment. And then you say, how are you actually feeling? What's your battery level? That's number two. Everyone's got a cell phone. What's your battery level? I'm at a 30%. Well, we're not going to push that hard today, but we'll have a conversation. I'm at 90%. Well, I'm going to challenge you. I'm going to give you some things that are going to push you a little bit more out of your comfort zone and try to get some growth out of you. And then number three is what do they want to get out of today? And if they repeat the same thing, like, hey, I really want to overcome my fear of re-injury, then we're able to go back into that. If we bring them to the present on the field and all of a sudden something switches, which has happened a few times, and then their focus then becomes, I need to focus on finding worth or overcoming my fear of not being good enough or whatever pops up at that time, then we're going to address that during it. But going back to it, addressing like that fear of re-injury, it comes from multiple layers. They're probably working with a physical therapist, and I'll ask them, hey, what did your physical therapist say? Well, my physical therapist said I'm clear, I'm good, I'm actually stronger than I was. I'm like, great. So you have an external perspective from a medical professional saying that you're stronger than you were. But I still have weird feelings that I can't describe. Cool. I have a sheet for you. It's very simple. It describes like noises and feelings and allows them to describe exactly what they're experiencing in their body, especially around their injury, so that they can take that sheet, take it to their physical therapist and directly address it. So they're not acting like someone going to a mechanic and being like, yeah, my car was making a weird sound. It was kind of like click, 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 click.
Right.
And the mechanic's like, yes, let me fix your entire car. But they have a sheet like in
You
the
need a new
moment, this
car.
is what I felt.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then that's it. It's step by step. It's a long process, but
Yeah.
we work on the support structure. We work on the hurdle that's directly in front of them. And then we don't overload the system. We try to make it fun while we're working on it.
That's good. I mean, I appreciate you kind of breaking all of that down, and through that, I was kind of going through some of the things I've learned through my injuries that may help you, or you probably already know them. But it was so I don't know if I shared this last time, but like when I know I shared this on the podcast before, but when I really got into mountain biking and racing, I broke my hand at a race, first stage, and one of the things that came out of that was I was angry at myself. I didn't go to the ER. I knew it was broke. Um, I came home and I just kind of like was kind of pissed off. And then I started to get angry because I was upset at the fact that I allowed something to define me again. Like I was kind of all in, and then then I realized what am I if I can't do this thing? So the important lesson learned there was this one thing does not define who I am or what I am, and I need to learn how to get back to, because I was using, a lot of people use mountain biking as a form of healing, right? And I was using it for that, but then it was just like it's not sustainable to ride the way I've been riding, and then especially like factoring in my age, like so at some point I'm gonna have to stop riding the way I'm riding, right? And so I need to understand this now and not allow it to define me. So I need to start fishing again. I need to start, um, like I started picking up other things. I play the ukulele, all these different things, right?
Oh, right
And
on.
I was like, I need to start doing those things again, um, so that way I'm not one dimensional. And through that process, and when I got hurt again, and then I got hurt again, I started to understand that I needed to make time. So like when I fractured my collarbone, or it was like a subluxation or some shit in my left shoulder, it was like 5 minutes into Bentonville, one of the trips that we took, my wife and I, was our first time there. 5 minutes into the trip, I like slide on some leaves on an easy trail, and I just slam into my shoulder.
Oof.
Right. And then I felt it was crunchy. I was like, oh, this ain't good. Went to the ER. But before we even went, because I was pissed because I was progressing, right? And I was excited to be there, see how much I've progressed. And then I forgot when I realized it. Maybe it was the time before I crashed at a photo shoot with some guys that we're partnering with, and I like shredded my, or like stripped off my skin on my arm, my hand. I had to go get stitches, and there I learned like to process what happened, like appreciate what happened, right? Like this happened, like mentally, consciously, and like with, and just accept it, like do whatever you need to do to process it, and then move on to the next step. So out of frustration and anger, I just like kind of let out, like, I didn't say I forced to cry because it was underneath, but it's hard for me to cry, but I did. And then I was like, all right, that's done with. Now I'm gonna go, because I could have stayed in the room and been in all my feelings, right? And like, oh, poor me. But I went out. They went out on the boat that day, and I went. I was all I was all hurting. So I was like, either I'm gonna be hurting here, or I'm gonna be hurting there. I'd rather be on the water. So I went out, had a good time, made some connections, conversations, and then I kind of blossomed some other relationships. But that day taught me, when I fractured or had that subluxation in my shoulder, it was like, you know what, this sucks. I'm gonna process this. I told my wife, give me a minute. Same thing. I did it in the same way. It was just frustration. I just kind of let that out, and then I was like, all right, time to go to the ER and deal with this. And then once they told me what it was, I used the X-ray on top of my wife. She's a acupuncture. Or she's got her last test for her license, and then she'll apply for her acupuncture license. And that's what I've been doing for the last 7 years. So that's all. I didn't get any NSAIDs or nothing. I don't take that anymore, anything, unless I'm in a crap ton of pain. But either way, I say all that to say I got treatment from that, and it was just like I used the X-rays to visualize, like these. Going back to Joe Dispenza, I'm not sure if you read any of his stuff, but like I visualized, because I can actually have a picture, and I use that picture to visualize, like, at least 2 or 3 times a day, like the fibers kind of coming back together, even like little
right on.
workers, like kind of putting whatever cement or whatever. And my goal, it was kind of like a little game to me. They told me I was going to be back in 8 weeks or 12 weeks, whatever it was, whatever injury. And my goal was to always beat that timeline, right? Like in a healthy way. And I always beat that timeline. And when I would go back to your question, or when I would go back, I would ask for updated x-rays to see how much it was healed. And then I would ask them, how much like stress can this take? And they were like, well, you can do this and this and that, but I wouldn't like take any hard impacts. So I would couple that with going out in nature. If I couldn't ride, I would go hike. I would take my pup, because I mean, that has its own healing elements, right? Being out in nature, walking, hiking, taking in vitamin D, sunlight, and then the visualization on top of eating the right stuff, the right foods. And it taught me how to recover the right way, as opposed to kind of just like, oh, poor me, I'm going to eat freaking cheeseburgers all day and just like feel sorry for myself and have that and just taking crap. Right. So yeah, it was a number of things that I implemented, and I continue to this day, and I try to pass over to other people. But that I'm learning that recovery is a skill, like, because not everybody knows how to deal with it. And it's cool that you're walking people through those stages, right? And kind of coaching them through it. And because it can be tough depending how tightly tied your identity is to whatever is that thing that you do.
I think you hit a pretty big point that like people hopefully were listening, wrote down, but like you accepted that injury and like, hey, you gave yourself a time to mourn, and then you said, all right, good enough,
That's
time
right.
to move forward. And then if people don't accept, like if I'm not willing to accept the fact that I tore my rotator cuff, then I'm going to keep pushing and I'm just going to injure it worse, or I'm not going to start the healing process. Not only that, but once you accepted it, you committed to your process. Like, I'm going to get up, I'm going to go out, I'm going to start doing things, right? You kind of followed that whole ACT principle. And then another thing you hit on that I really want to highlight to people is you got outside. So you're doing the right things. You talked about diet. You're getting the right focus. You're using visualization to see it healing itself. There's studies out there showing that using visualization of a muscle or bone or ligament healing actually increases the healing process and speeds it up, which is kind of cool, right? The power of our brain. But the fact that you use that, and then you also were going outside, you're tying in things that you enjoy, going outside, using ecotherapy, enjoying the sunlight, which does a wealth of a benefit for your circadian rhythm. So you're going to sleep better because you went outside in the sunlight. Because you sleep better, it's going to help you recover quicker. And then because you're sleeping better, you're going outside, you're doing things you enjoy, you're also moving your body, you're maintaining your fitness level. By maintaining your fitness level and keeping your cortisol levels down, your body's keeping inflammation down and it's able to focus on the injury, like the spot where you're injured. So all those things, what you're talking about, just stack up towards creating the best chance of success for yourself. And I hope everyone was listening and kind of taking notes, because that was solid.
I appreciate it, man. And that was all through like doing it over and over. And it wasn't my
Yeah.
goal to get hurt, but it was just like, all right, this happened. Now I need to kind of shift and kind of have these little chapters in that recovery. And that was the big thing, was accepting it, right? And you talk about cortisol levels, because if you don't accept it, then you're constantly in this, your body's still in this stage of this happened and it's still happening right now.
Oh yeah.
And it's not
Perpetual
shifting
stress.
over to, yeah. And as we know, stress is the key to, not the key, but it is this negative stress, definitely negatively impacts like the healing process. And then not sleeping. Yeah. And the sleep is huge too.
Oh yeah. I think I know we don't this isn't talked about much, but you know how youth sports, like you want you want kids to play multiple sports, right? It decreases their chance of injury. And then they can be sports specific when they get older. You know, when they're in high school, they can go to their preferred sport. For me, it was ice hockey and lacrosse. And then after high school, I just was strictly focused on ice hockey. Like that was my passion. It's what I wanted to do. But the reason that we have kids play multiple sports growing up is because it actually helps with injury prevention. You know, we're building the total body. We're training the full body through different ranges of motion. And I think that people aren't talking about this. At least I haven't heard it talked about. But when you become older, like post 30, you need to be a multi-sport athlete again. I know we all have the thing that we love. Maybe you love riding bikes as far as you can and then coming back and that's it for the day. Maybe you love going for a nice jog, or you're still trying to hit the big three for your lifts, right? Because that's what you're passionate about. That's something that carried you through young adulthood, carried you through the past few years. But as we get older and we become more injury prone, like experience more sports, go hiking, maybe try pickleball. Maybe those old people are on to something, right? Go pick up a new sport, learn a new skill, play a new instrument, do something that forces you to move your body in a different way that you haven't moved it before. Like, sure, maybe you're playing like horseshoes in the backyard or something like that. I've seen one with a frisbee and a trash can. It's a pretty fun one. But just do like new games, new sports, new movements, and get your body moving the full range of motion that it hasn't been doing for the past, 2 decades, 3 decades, who knows.
Yeah, definitely. And it's wild, like how, like when I grew up, I played football and baseball, and then they made me run track. So I wasn't really like a multi sport. I mean, I guess that's multi more than two, but I didn't really like. I didn't play soccer like in a team sport. I mean, I kind of kicked the ball around, but I really didn't play that many sports. I rode a bike every so often. But like fast forward, in the military, I did some CrossFit. I did play like some football, like whenever or whatever freaking sport they were like for PT or whatever, um, or fun day or whatever they were doing. But it wasn't until I got out of the military and I started riding bikes, and then I had those injuries that it made me kind of, it like woke me up. It was like, what do you do? Like the word I don't know, let's say, multi-dimensional, not being one dimensional, just stuck with me. And since then, I've, like, to your point, and it wasn't my intent. It was just like, I want to be good. I, I don't know why it was so important for me to learn so many different things. So riding the bike was the first thing. I don't really play football anymore. So riding the bike, the ukulele, the hiking, uh, jujitsu and MMA. I started that last year, and those have always kind of been on my list of things to do. But as well as a number of other things. But I do feel like I'm becoming a better athlete now than I was then, and it was all due to injuries and questioning my identity, and not allowing one thing to define me, if that makes sense, in mountain biking.
Oh yeah.
And that's something I try to bring awareness to other folks, is because like there's a lot of folks that say that they're using it for their own therapy, but I'm just like, that's cool, but be aware that if you get injured, and I've had folks that I've talked to get injured and they go into a downward spiral. I'm like, and that's not what I want for folks. I'm like, hey man, that's cool. You could do that, but do other things. What else are you? What else are you? Because when this one thing goes away, then, and that's kind of your own lifeline, your only lifeline that you're holding on to. You know what I mean? Like
Oh yeah. I hear you.
it's a cliff that you're walking towards, and I'm just like, man, just be aware. Like, I'm not trying to tell you what to do, but just be aware, man.
Oh yeah. My mom's a great example. I love like looking at what my mom's doing. She has taught herself multiple languages. She decided to pick fencing up again, like in her 60s.
Oh, cool.
Like I'm gonna go fight people with swords. A little tiny, like 5'1" blonde lady, just fighting someone with a sword in her 60s. But like she hasn't stopped. And then when one thing stopped, she said, "Well, now I'm gonna go learn figure skating. Now I'm gonna go get involved." And she wants to go try doing boxing now.
Oh,
She's
nice.
on the cusp of 80 now, so her new desires to learn how to box on the cusp of 80. She got in the TRX for a while in her mid 70s. She decided that she was going to start traveling the world. So she's been all over the world finally following that dream. And there's a quote by Hunter S. Thompson. I don't know if you've heard it. It's about like how we live our lives, but um, the main goal is not finishing our life in a pretty and well preserved body, but it's to slide in head first saying, wow, what a ride. And that was on our refrigerator growing up. And that's how she lived her life. And that's what she instilled in me growing up. And we tried to pursue that the best we could. Like COVID was good for me. Hey, it was horrible. I hated being locked down, but I learned how to do leather work. I learned how to play the violin because the neighbors didn't like me playing my saxophone again. I learned like anything that I was interested in. I just started YouTubing and figuring out how to do it. I learned how to do balloon animals, solve a Rubik's cube, like all these like simple little tasks that you wouldn't think about. Well, now I'm locked at home and I'm going to use it to learn new skills. Uh, and you can do that for your whole life. And then as long as you do that and you're learning, it's helping with your brain, it's helping with your neural connections, it's helping with neurogenesis, creating new neurons in your brain that's going to help you fight things like dementia and other brain problems that are coming later on in life. So it's people who are pursuing life and pursuing like mastery throughout their entire life of new things that are going to stay youthful, at least in the mind and mostly the body.
Definitely. Yeah, it's like COVID, same thing with me. Like, it didn't really affect us, like, because we're already mountain biking outside.
Yeah.
And you kind of talked about YouTube and learning all these different things. I use that like a lot to like figure stuff out. And I I call it like you remember that scene in The Matrix? Have you seen The Matrix?
Oh, I've seen The Matrix.
Yeah, that part where they put that thing in his head and he's like, I'm gonna learn kung fu.
Oh yeah.
It's like that, but like I don't know, like the slower version of that. But you can definitely learn anything you want on YouTube. And it's a great tool, right? That could work positively for you. And that's how I learned to do so many things. But going back to like, I call it like functional recovery. One of the things I learned, like when I broke my hand or my fingers, not my fingers, but like my hand, I think I broke it twice. I was using when I was able to took my cast off, I was using the ukulele like
Oh,
to
that's great.
play, to kind of just the dexterity of like the strength to hold the strings down. It
Yeah.
was pretty tough, but just doing that, like I actually have videos of doing it. I was going to make a post about functional recovery. I don't know if that's a thing, but um, and it was tough, right? I was kind of like not really pushing the strings down tight enough or whatever. But it definitely helped me, and it was also at the same time, I feel like a, and it's strange, not strange, but it's interesting how I could go for a, and that's what's cool about having like so many tools in your quiver, so to speak, or your toolbox, is I can be going through something, right? I wake up one morning, kind of a depressed state or whatever, and I'll go for a ride, and it really doesn't do anything. And then I kind of pick up another tool or whatever. But
Yeah.
oftentimes it's the last tool, like the ukulele, like something about music and playing music. It just allows that emotion to kind of get processed through the instrument and kind of like the sound waves kind of pick it up and just carry it away. I know that sounds kind of crazy, but and I just kind of feel like that emotion or whatever it is kind of lift away from me. But it's just kind of going down the, like pulling out the different tools, like see what's going to work. And if I only had mountain biking, then I would kind of still be in this whatever funk I was in. So that's another plus to it is, um, that one tool may not always work for you. So it's like try to find something different, a positive coping mechanism as opposed to a negative one.
No, that's a great point. And I think you're spot on. Like you have different tools for the different jobs, right? If you only have a hammer, then everything looks like a nail. But
Yeah. Yeah.
um but I think you're spot on. And if people realize like, hey, well, maybe I can't bike because I have a flat tire, I can't fix it right now, or weather's horrible, can't go out. Like, hey, there's a giant ice storm, I can't go ride my bike safely outside, or I'm recovering from an injury. Having those tools,
Mhm.
that list that you can go down, like what you were talking about, whether you're ending with music or drawing or painting or whatever you want to do, the sky's the limit, whatever you want to learn. And then you have that in your back pocket. um, you have options, you have choices. I mean, the best thing about freedom, and what really describes what freedom is choice. So if you don't have a choice, you don't have any freedom. So if you're
Yeah.
cutting yourself off and you're saying, well, I can do this one thing and that's it, like you don't have freedom. Like freedom comes from choice. Freedom comes from making decisions, whether they're easy decisions or hard decisions. That's where freedom's found, and that's where you can truly develop yourself.
Yeah. And I hear people put themselves in a box quite often, or like where they'll say, I'm not artistic, or I'm not a musician. I'm not, and I usually joke with them. I'm like, well, now with that attitude, you're not,
Yeah.
it's just like they're nobody's good at one thing. It's all a skill. I mean, some people can probably pick up and just draw right away, but that's few and far between. Um, like I don't think I'm the best artist, but it's not about the, it's about the process of drawing, right, and getting better each time, like anything else. Yeah, drawing's a huge one. Drawing, painting. I do some of these things. I kind of got away from some of them, but as you're talking about, I'm like, I need to get back into that thing and going back to create. I feel that the way we were designed is one of the things that, going back to, so you're talking about freedom, free will, right? Free will is like we have the choice to make something, to create anything. Now granted, just because we could create something doesn't mean we should, right? Does that make sense? Like I
Oh
mean, I
yeah.
can get into like CERN and what they're doing over there, but to bring it back is like I feel like creation, like creating like a work of art, like whether it's drawing, like you don't ever have to show it to anybody, but that process, like that you kind of go through. And I learned how to tie back into it when I was an inpatient. When you're kind of taken away, they take away all these things from you, right? Like so you don't like hurt yourself, right? And but they kind of give you like something as basic. It's like getting back to basics. Like, hey, here's a some piece of paper, some crayons, or some colored pencils, and then it's just like I'm not doing anything else here. I'm just gonna sit here and I'm gonna do whatever I do, and because that's what I'm gonna do. And it's interesting like how it starts to pull on the threads of like, oh man, I forgot I used to like this. Oh, and by the way, hey, this is actually, I feel a little bit better when I do this. Or like when, I don't know, like just finding these basic like these basic things that we did as kids, and to have that, like, have be going through whatever, and then kind of being able to transcribe that into a picture or words or
Oh yeah.
whatever, and then kind of transfer it to that paper, that median. And I feel like that's an important process to us being here. And then when we don't create, we at least for me, I feel like all people are creative. They just create different things. When I don't create, I feel like gross. Like I feel like I'm not properly. Um, how can I say this? I'm not. I'm not like kind of um existing in the way I should, like fully. I guess if that makes sense.
No, I understand. I think everyone needs to have an outlet, whether you're drawing, whether you're creating with music, you're building cars, you're doing something, you need an outlet. Every athlete I work with, I give them journal prompts like, hey, we're going to start here, because it's through creation that we increase our self awareness. I'm able to work through myself, my own feelings through this creation process. Maybe by the time I look down at a drawing I made, that I was just absent-mindedly drawing, I was putting it down on paper while I was working through something in my mind. That drawing is representing something that's inside of me, because it came from me. It was a blank piece of paper. And then this design that's here came from inside my mind, inside my body, and it was projected down onto this paper. So when I'm doing that, whether you say like, oh, it's just a doodle, it's still something you created. It's still something coming from inside you to the paper. And I think, and then like we can discuss this if you want, I think social media probably took creativity from being a self-expression of, hey, I'm just getting this out, to now I need to get this out and curate it in a way that is socially acceptable to everyone who might see it. So maybe I'm not going to use these dark colors. Maybe I'm not going to create like a giant cave on the side of a mountain far away from a village, all the way down the corner. No one analyzed me. I'm just saying for an example, right?
Right, right, right.
But
Too
they're
late.
curating it because
Just
because then
joking.
they're going, if they're planning to post it. But when we create, music and art, when we create any kind of design, whether we're writing in the snow, writing in the sand, and watching a wave take it away, that process of dumping it out is you pouring yourself out into the world, you pouring this emotion, something that's pent up inside. And when we do it for ourselves, for the act of getting it out and not doing it because I want to share it with other people, that's the true form of self expression. A paper that I can draw on and throw away is more important than a paper I draw on and show the world.
Yeah, 100%. It's I started to write something about creation, because I've, like as you highlighted earlier, right? It's everyone's, I don't want to say everyone. A good majority of people are like chasing the algorithm, right? Or like trying to get their pictures liked, and it's different when you're just kind of creating something for, I'm going to use whatever filters
Yeah.
and whatever transitions because this is mine. And that's one thing I was doing with the podcast early on, like the beginning and the end. I was kind of just making it my own, right? Its own fingerprint, if you will. Um, and I still do that, but I'm just kind of limited in tools now to be as creative. This all this shit costs money, so it's, you know what I mean. I'm getting kind of, but either way, aside from that, yes, social media does kind of, and then you're also, the way that the algorithm works is the way I understand it, it's always changing too. It's how often you post, what time you post, what you post, what hashtags you use. If you're using like the latest trending music applies. If you're using like making the whatever so long, like 30 seconds or less or
Yeah.
whatever is trending at the time, and it's always changing. So from a creative process, it like I go against that a lot because I'm just like F that. I'm gonna create what I want to create. But it's also like I have found myself like when I have conversations with other people that are successful, right, in social media, and they're like, "Yeah, you got to watch this and listen to that and use this music," and I'm just like, I'm not doing all that. I don't have the time to listen to these tutorials on how to be successful on social media, and secondly, like as creating something, I just want to create what I want to create. But furthermore, it's like I've gotten so um I don't want to say jaded. What's the right word? The only word I can come with is like when I'm on social media too long, I feel gross, and that's it. I try to curate my feed. I try to curate my feed with like things I can learn, whether it's jujitsu, MMA, um, like something like I don't know, like listening to Lex Friedman, Andrew Huberman, or like some of the posts you put out, like something I'm trying to learn something right from it. Most of the time, I end up getting like stuff from like stuff I don't even care about. Um, Especially like stuff that's going on in the world and what have you right now, and things are out of my control. That's another thing, is trying to stay focused on how can I how can I change like what's in my control right now, um
Oh yeah.
because especially as a military member, I'm really good at like zooming out and kind of seeing the bigger picture. But with that, it comes a lot of I see things, I'm like, I can't do anything about that right now. So the only thing I can do is control what's in front of me right now. I'll just kind of leave that there. But yes, creating, um, and for those of you folks that are like, oh, I don't want to put that out there because I don't want anybody to see, or what if I mess up? I feel like the mistakes that you feel are mistakes are those are like your one. It's like when it's like writing in a journal, right? You go back and you see something you wrote like in your first entry, and then like you're, I don't know, let's say 2 years ahead, and then you go back, you're like, oh man, like one, my writing got better. Two, I don't think that way anymore. But three, it's your thing. And so when you're creating something and you have these mistakes, if you will, that's that's like your fingerprint. Like that's your thing. Like, and nobody else can be like that. And I feel like in this place that we are with AI creating these perfect images and these perfect things, like no, like we're meant to be fallible. We're meant to use too much shading here or use the wrong transition there, because that's you. That's you. That's what one thing that you're putting together and you're putting out there, and that's what's unique about it. I feel like old art is going to be even more expensive because perfect art is not going to, unless AI starts putting like mistakes in it on purpose, which would be weird, because it would be disingenuous, right?
Yeah. I think I think you're on to something kind of big. Like a curated life is not a life at all. A curated piece of art created within parameters to appease the eye of someone else is not something that's truly desired. And back when I was in high school, I always thought like abstract expressionism was kind of silly, right? They splattered paint on a canvas and then they sold it for like 1.5 mil, and that was crazy to me, thinking about it back then. But now I'm looking at it in the perspective of 2026, where eh, I'm not sure what is real and what's not real when I see it
It's
online. I'm
crazy.
not sure what is and what's not real when I see like commercials and things like that, where now that splatter paint, now that smear of paint with just a white background, but a change in texture that's so small that you can only see it if you see it in person. That seems more real with more meaning than all the art that I'm seeing right now.
Yeah, yeah. It's we definitely live in strange times, and especially from, unfortunately, like the kids that are growing up and don't know any difference, or they kind of were born with an iPad in their hand. I mean, they're not going to know the difference. But us, we grew up before. Um, I grew up before phones. I thought it was cool when I had a pager. But like to see like where there was like one phone in the house and everyone had to use it, right? And then but most people like I always wanted to be outside, right? And then now it's the opposite where well, at least for a good amount of time, most of the kids don't even want to go outside. Even if you look at houses like newer housing developments, the yards are smaller. They're like there's no backyard because the house is bigger. So it's like they took that blueprint and kind of like I mean maybe it's for taxes reasons, but either way, it still use the same thing. Like there's less yard for the kids to play, and there's more house for the kids to stay in, and everyone have be in their own room, and the houses are bigger. And I'm not knocking anybody with big houses, but it's when I grew up, we used to share. My brother and I used to share a room, or me and my sister and I used to share a room, and there wasn't a whole lot of space, but it that made for like better times, you know what I mean? And now it
Yeah.
seems like everyone's kind of just in their corners. And I think I might have put this on your post. You posted something, and it was just kind of like, oh man, maybe this is too out there. But I do feel like social, like the algorithm and social media is siloing off the consciousness of each individual, where it's tailoring so much to the point where um, it's curating so much to the point where the person is isolated in their own little world, in their own little corner in their phone, where they're not going to interact with anybody within time and in the future. And then you can talk about Neuralink and the uploading of the consciousness. And some
Yeah.
people actually believe that they're going to live on forever because they're going to be on the cloud, so to speak. Or it's wild, man.
Yeah. My Now I fully agree with you because like it's already come out that the algorithm just is an echo chamber. You're getting what you want to hear. In fact, I think we covered so many topics so far that people might hear things that they don't want to hear. You know, they might have their horizons broadened. That's all right. That's what it's all about.
Yeah, I mean, this is just a conversation, man. Like, I don't think
That
we're unique in this. Like, it's crazy, man. Like, it's wild times.
this is why like you need to go hang out in person. You need to sit around. Like my favorite times are sitting in the team room listening to the guys talk. You have one guy from the Pacific Northwest going off the chain about whatever he wants to go off the chain about. You have another guy who's like the conspiracy guy on the team. You have another guy who's from like Tennessee, just a thick accent and talking
Yeah,
about the mountains. And you
believe
have this
that.
you have this mix, right, of guys, but when we all come together, we're one mind. We work towards one goal, but we allow each other to grow. So when you get outside the echo chamber, and this is why I firmly believe like you need to travel the world, not to take pictures and not to do selfies, but you need to travel the world to walk down a back alley and find someone who'll share food with you sitting on a bench, and he'll talk with you, he'll tell you what the real world is like there. When you go and do that around the world, like I've been to Europe, I've been to the Middle East, I've been to Africa, I've been all over the place. My worldview grew the most when I didn't talk to people who thought the same as me. My worldview grew the most when I asked a question and just let them run as far as they wanted to run with the topic. And then, hey, what do you want to share with me? I'm here in your country. I'm interested. I remember I was down in Lagos in Nigeria a long time ago, and I heard that the one CrossFit gym in Nigeria was in Lagos. So I looked up the address and I decided I was going to go find it. And hey, man, I drank water out of a bag because it was hot as hell there, man. So I was thirsty, bought water on the side of the road, drank water out of a bag. I was walking through all kinds of neighborhoods. I had really no idea where I was going. My cell phone didn't work. I knew a general idea, had conversations with locals, found my way there. The guy was super cool. Obviously, everyone who competed at the CrossFit Games for his country came to his gym. So like it was a pretty cool experience. He has this gym. He's like, oh, I get everything shipped from like America that he buys on Craigslist or something else. And then he finds someone who's already bringing stuff over. So he's telling me about this whole logistical process to get a tractor tire or to get a new barbell or to get like two 45-pound plates over there. And through sharing that, he's sharing about like his family and all these connections he has and how he got into CrossFit. And he's telling me about his background and how his community comes together there on Friday nights and all these experiences that if I just went there and I did the tour stuff. I went to, um, the big restaurants. I went to check out the fancy hotels that I'm not experiencing. I didn't grow. I didn't make a connection with the people, which then connects me to the community, which is something that changes me. So when I go home, I'm taking that with me, right? And
Right.
then that's what people are missing when they're in the echo chamber. When I live through not yours, but when I live through like your, as in generally people's curated photos to fit the algorithm that fits the algorithm that I have created through my search habits, I'm not growing. My worldview's not getting bigger. Like just because I see a bunch of Philadelphia sports stars talking and then updates about Philadelphia sports stars and then what Gritty, the Philadelphia Flyers mascot's doing. Like I'm not growing anymore. I'm seeing strictly the things that I enjoy seeing. But having this conversation, we're both going to leave with more than what we came into it.
100%, man. And it's you said a lot there, man, and I agree with it. I've been blessed enough to go to a bunch of different countries and experience the culture, and like that's what I think. It's hard for me now to engage in small talk. Like it's uncomfortable for me to just sit there and just, hey, so how's this and how's that, and when I try to, not necessarily like I ask personal questions, but just try to prompt something to kind of get a little deeper, and it just kind of like zero, like, glazed eyes or what have you, or it just kind of change the subject really quick. It's just tough for me. I'm not saying it's not. I can still do it, but it's just I'd rather go deeper. I'd rather, and I don't need to hear about, like, I'll hear about whatever you're willing to share with me. And I'm willing to hear whatever thoughts and ideas. I don't have to agree with everything you're saying.
Oh
I don't
yeah.
have to like, but at the same time, it gives me an understanding of where you're coming from. And I think that's our problem now is just societally everywhere. It's like you said, echo chambers. People they don't want to have their worldview challenged in any type of way because they feel like they're gonna, lose credit with their tribe or what have you, or whatever idea that they have in their head. But yeah, traveling. I tell my family all the time, like, if you can ever travel, like, you're never gonna lose your money. You can even get robbed, but you're gonna leave it with an experience that would like forever change you, and you'll understand like a different culture, different foods, different, um just a different understanding, even like a different state. You can go to a different state and they just see things differently, they operate differently, they move differently, they talk differently. And that fast, like, I love that. I love traveling and just experiencing different people and just kind of hearing, and that's one of the things I love about doing this podcast. I get to just chat with people, talk to them, learn some new things that I may not understand. And going back to echo chamber, I used Chat GPT a few times. It took me a while to get into, like, to even try it, and I was like, let me see what this is about. And then, like, within the 4 or 5 times, or maybe like 10 times I used it, I was like asking questions, and then whenever I'd pose a thought, like, the second time, like the first time I was like, oh, that was a pretty good idea. And then the second, I was like, wait a minute, I see what you're doing here.
Yeah.
You're like you're catering to my ego. And I was like, nah, I can't. This is weird. I can't do this. Like, I want you to kind of push back a little bit. I want you to, like, but this is different. Like, you are trying to get me to like you so much, and it's weird. And I don't know. I deleted the app, um, because it's dangerous, man. It's dangerous to kind of have this thought and never be challenged on your ideas. Because there's sometimes I say stuff on here, and I'll learn something new. I'm like, damn, like, I was wrong, or I said that wrong, right? But that's part of it. Like, even though I'm talking, like, I'm talking with the air of, like, when you're talking, I don't want to say live, but when we're just having a conversation, you're gonna say some things that are wrong, and that's, for me, that's okay. Like, it's not like you're, like, I always try to preface it with, like, I'm not an expert in this, but this is how I remember it. And if I'm going to paraphrase, and if I'm wrong, please let me know in the comments or what have you, because my memory is not the greatest. And I try to uh, recall things as best as I can, but it's hard to have all this information that you learn from all these different podcasts and conversations, and then try to remember it word for word and then kind of regurgitate it.
No, I completely understand. And I want to say something to you and to anyone who's listening. Like, this is a major point that I want you to hear and write down. There is nothing in this world. There's nothing in this world, any person in this world, any amount of money in this world that requires you to be the same person you were 5 minutes ago. If you learn something new, you change your outlook. If you have an argument with someone and you realize like your argument really doesn't hold water, there is no reason that you need to toe the line of where you stood. If you're wrong, you're wrong. And by saying, "Oh, I guess I was off on that," I've done that a number of times. I've been wrong a whole lot, a whole lot. And I've learned a lot more by saying like, "Oh man, I missed that perspective." And hey, can you teach me more? Like, let's dig into this. Tell me more about that. And I think a lot of people are like, well, I've been fighting this fight for so long. I've been towing the line for so long for whatever it is, whether it's a political party, whether it's something that has to do with your faith, whether it's something that you learned growing up that you just assumed was always right, that you're like, I have to maintain it until I die because, well, otherwise the last 40 years have been wasted, right? No, it just means that the next 40 years will be different and not wasted. Imagine going forward saying, well, I was proven wrong, but I'm going to keep towing the line just because it's what I always did. How we always did it is the one phrase that's guaranteed to ruin anything, right?
Yeah. I remember hearing that in the military quite often. That's the way we always did it. I was like, But
why we stay until 1700? That's how we always did it.
That's the way I always did it.
Yeah.
How dare you ask that question? You're staying at 1705. But yeah, it's and so to go back, you brought up something like their faith, right? That's one reason why I think a lot of people kind of are driven away from faith because of the self-righteous, like, I won't speak overgeneralize, but there are a lot of people that kind of speak or not willing to consider, and I'm not saying like scripture wise, but just not be able to answer questions because this was what I grew up in a lot, was if you ask me any questions, then you're questioning God, like based off what their idea of what they felt the scripture is, right? And I'm just like, well, for a couple of things. One, I'm a kid, so I don't have any life experiences, nor do I understand the way that this is being read out loud. This is not the language we use. And two, I mean, I didn't say it like that, but I was like, I got questions and I want to ask questions so I can better understand what you're telling me to believe in. But when I ask the questions, then I'm going to hell because I'm questioning God. And so fast forward, getting back around to it and being able to read and understand and process based off the life experiences that I have to this point, I'm able to understand it more. And the more I can dig into it to understand the culture, what was going on, the politics of the time, and all these things, right? And so when anybody asks me questions, I'm able to like explain what I know to that point, and then always kind of go back like, oh, I don't know that. Let me go back and I'll find the answer and we can talk about it. But I don't know everything. But yes, you're gonna say, sorry.
No, you're good, man. I was just thinking about the faith thing. Like, my faith journey was a huge, just roundabout journey, trying to search and find answers and find the perfect answer. And I think when I finally said, like, I'm going to make this list, and it's okay that I don't know. It's okay that there's things I'm not certain about, but I'm going to pursue answers and I'm going to look to areas that are uncomfortable to look so that I have a better understanding. That's what allowed me to truly come back to my faith. You know, I had experiences in the military downrange. I lost friends. which turned me away from God because one of them was like a really solid Christian dude. I'm like, how is this guy going to get killed? Solid, solid Christian guy, supported everyone's friends. He's everyone's friend, you know. He helped a lot of people. He helped me, and I'm like, and he's gonna go get killed, and that kind of started
Mm.
this trip into a dark place for a lot of years. That I still believed in God, and I still believed he was very active in my life. And I would even joke around like, "Oh, I have a God bubble." I had a bunch of close calls, but uh, never, never anything truly insane. And I went in this darkness, and I allowed those questions, those unanswered questions, to kind of take me away and build this wall. And it wasn't until I was willing to sit down and say, like, you know what? I'm going to pursue answers, and I'm going to put my faith in God first, because I have to put my faith there in order to pursue these answers, was what I got to, using like philosophy and reason. I had to say, well, because I'm arguing that a God might not exist, the fact that I'm even acknowledging this God of existence or not existence means that there is a God that I'm acknowledging. Therefore, I'm starting off on the foot of there is a God, and I will start at this base layer. And right after high school, I went to Bible college. So I already had a degree in Bible. So I then put up that identity. We're going back to identity. Like, how can I have a degree in biblical studies and turn my back on my faith? So that was another hurdle that I had to overcome, right? So I'm going this monstrous trip. Like, imagine you just have to go from point A to point B, and I'm crushing like the entire alphabet. I'm going, imagine scrolling all the way over on Excel, and you're at ZZ, and that's my route, going all the way through all the letters. But it took admitting I didn't know, and it was okay not to know, that I could start answering questions. And I think, I know I'm a rambler. You can tell me to stop anytime, but
No, go
yeah,
continue, please.
I I think that's kind of the key to start, right? Like, um, I started Catholic, and then I switched to Protestant. Went to a Protestant Bible college, and the college taught me a bunch of like anti-Catholic stuff. My dad's Catholic, so I tried to convince him not to be Catholic, um, and then came in the army. And when I was in the army, I still did the Protestant thing, but I actually was very Catholic in my doctrine, because when I was in that Bible college, instead of my dad arguing with me about what Catholicism was about, he was just like, go read the catechism. So now I'm gonna make a list of everything I don't agree with in this thing, and it was a very, very short list when it came down to it. So I was basically uh, Protestant despite myself, and I stayed that route. And then studying church history was like the big thing. I couldn't answer a few things, so I'm like, well, let me go read church history. And admitting I didn't know some things about the early church, I went and pursued people who understood the early church. I went and read the writings of those who were the disciples of the apostles. You know, I went to go read like Ignatius of Antioch, and I went and read Clement of Rome and things like that. And I wanted to know, what were they saying. There's no way they're saying that like the modern church is what it is. I was putting up a hard fight. Took this roundabout way, and it wasn't one answer. It wasn't uh, I took a weekend and everything was fine. It was years upon years of like, I'm going to bounce around. You know, they call it church shopping. I need to find that perfect church out there. Anything but the Catholic Church. And then eventually I got to the point where I walked back into a Catholic church, and I was like, all right, well, I'm gonna talk with the deacon, and I'm gonna have conversations with him, and challenge him to these ideas, these walls that I built that I didn't know, and the answers I got I didn't like. So I want different answers. And it took a lot of overcoming pride, overcoming um, this identity that I had developed over years and years and years. And it took a lot of effort to make that shift of, I found the answers, And now I just have to have faith in those answers. I have to take those steps. And then it wasn't just, well, I'm going to go there on Sundays. I need to change my lifestyle, you know, and it's not easy because I still have personal issues. Like I'm still angry about my friends. I'm still carrying a lot of weight from the experiences like we all carry, right? And I'm still dealing with the problem of suffering and pain in the world. Specifically, one time in Africa, we were driving down this road and I saw a kid. He couldn't have been older than 6 or 7, digging through like a dumpster looking for food. And I'm like, no way. Like, how can this kid, a child, have to be dealing with this pain and suffering? And it's a hurdle that I was dealing with and refusing to let go of. And I think we all have things we're holding on to, whether it's something from our childhood, something that we experienced throughout our lives, some idea or persona about something that we're holding on to that's limiting us from truly experiencing something in life, whether it's your faith, whether it's sports, whether it's work, whether it's family, whether it's friendships, whatever it is. We all hold on to these things, and until we're ready to truly let them go, like you're not going to overcome these obstacles. I know we started talking about faith, but it's bigger than that. These hurdles that we build inside are things that we have to find ways to overcome, and they're things that we have to overcome through challenging our own personal beliefs.
Yeah. At the end of it, it's like learning how to surrender, right?
Oh
Like,
yeah.
like to surrender to faith and understand like there's something greater at work, and that's hard. I I had the misconception for a long time that I used to say this. I mean, I think it was like an easy way out, or maybe just a adopted idea that I heard from somebody else. But like, I felt like faith was, or believing in God was easy, because it's like, well, you just, you think you can go to heaven, so you just, and you can always put it off like, well, that's, that's God's will, what have you, and it's like an easy way out. Um, I mean, that was a convenient thing I would tell myself. And it's interesting. Well, I'll say that it's not. It's hard. It's very hard. It's very hard because you want to be able to control all those things, and the things that don't make sense you want to question, and like, how can this happen, and how can let that happen, um and I'm still learning how to do it myself. So I'm not going to sit here and be like, oh, it's just this and it's just that. But I think that's all our journey, right? To For you to kind of take this, roundabout, if you will, and kind of end up back where you were essentially. The same thing with me. I got brought up in this like mixed ideologies. So I feel still like I'm still struggling with that. I wasn't brought up Catholic. I was brought up like, we used to go to church like all the time. And it was like a Baptist church. It was I don't think it was Pentecostal. Maybe it was Pentecostal, Baptist, Pentecostal. But it was primarily like Baptist, I think, and then some non-denominational church. And then when my mom would get in arguments with the preacher, whoever, maybe some of the people there, and then she started having like Bible study at the house, right? And then people would come over, and it was kind of I guess they brought that Baptist, and I'm not knocking on Baptist. It's just that's what, and it was just kind of the do this or this, like you do this or you're going to hell. It was like no in between. It seemed like, at least that was how I interpreted it as a kid. On top of that, I was brought up with um, like Native American practices where there was like limpias and cleansings and stuff like that. But it was always like with Jesus in mind, right? Which I'm learning is like, it's not, I don't know. It's strange because there's parts of the Bible that talk about like, the gift of foresight, the gift of, like all these gifts, right? That like seers and stuff like that, right? You talk with some Christians and they're like, it's like if you're talking anything else or getting any messages, then that's the devil. And it's just like, well, what about this part of the Bible? Like, doesn't God, you say God works in mysterious ways, and there's why is it convenient to like leave this part out, right? or like just because you're not having those yourself, like anybody else is not that's having them, they're talking to the devil or something. Um, so I kind of got brought up in these two different belief systems, right? And I I got away from it for a long time because of the, like I said, the self-righteous kind of like not being able to question anything, and then plus the life I was living, the neighborhood I got brought up in, um, like I wasn't living. Uh, I was living like the way that other people in my neighborhood were living. I'll just say that, and it wasn't good, right? And kind of being kind of in my mind, it was like this false confidence that I felt like I had to walk in, right, to project that I was these things that I was not, right, to kind of keep people away from me. And I kind of carried that into the military. My first, I don't know, a good while in the military, I was fighting a lot and drinking and all kinds of stuff, right? So it was convenient, and which is interesting because it's ironic, because it was convenient to believe that there wasn't a God, right? Or like maybe I knew there was one, but I wouldn't acknowledge it, and I was continuing living this life. But on the other side of it, I was kind of really getting into, um, I don't want to call it the occult, but I would watch like Ghost Adventures. I was all into, because that's the kind of like the culture I was brought up in, right? I was brought up in, like, even the house that I grew up in, like my friends and would come over. They didn't want to come over because they would hear and see things, and I would hear and see things in the house. And it wasn't just me; it was the rest of my family. Like one time, it was on Halloween. Go figure. But me and my sister were in the living room, and we had a upstairs there which we added, and we heard somebody. Nobody. It was just her and I at home. Somebody was walking upstairs, like you can hear the footsteps, and there was some steps that went into the living room. You could hear them walking down all the way down the steps onto the landing, and then two more, and then it was just like me and my sister were just looking at each other like, and that was it, right? I mean, wasn't no like
That's
or nothing,
wild.
right? And there's been a lot of things that have happened to me in my life that I know evil is real. I know that for certain, because I felt it. I felt it when I was in Florida, when I was stationed in Florida. Um, I was asleep in my room, and in the middle of the night, I woke up and there was a presence in my room. I didn't see it. I could feel it. I was scared, dude. I was fucking
Oh
scared.
man.
And there was nothing. I turned the light on, and I was always taught to face it, right? Face it. But I'm facing it, but I know I can't do nothing to it. Like I know it's there. I could feel it. There was this primal fear that I felt, like even when I'm talking about it now, I could, like, it's starting to kind of bring back those feelings. But the only thing that took it away was prayer, man. And it took a while because I didn't know how to pray. I didn't know how to
Yeah.
pray. I was just kind of like trying to say what I knew, and it was hard, and I was fumbling words, and because I was scared. And then it would go away, and then I started living the life I was living again because it was convenient. Like, well, maybe I would start to rationalize it's probably that, it's probably this, I probably that movie I saw, or whatever. And that's happened to me a few times. And then growing up as a kid, I saw a lot of stuff like, but I say all that to say that I've gone full circle too, man. And I'm still trying to understand it for myself. And I feel like it's all supposed to happen that way so we can truly be locked into what we believe in. And that's what I was tell, like, I kind of have like a small regret because my kids, right? When they would ask me like, "Hey, like, do you believe in God?" They were brought up Catholic. They went to catechism and all that stuff. And I didn't want to lie to them. So I was like, I'm not sure. Honestly, I'm still searching. I was like, but when I know, you'll know, is pretty much like, in other words, my point was, I'm going to continue searching. But when I do find it, you'll know that I've done the research, because we would have these in-depth
Yeah.
conversations about it. And yeah, man, last year I gave my life to Christ on April 23rd, I think. And I'm still kind of peeling back
Oh
the
man, I'm stoked
layers.
to hear that.
I'm still peeling back the layers. Am I living the life that I need to? Probably not. But I'm trying, every day I try to make an honest effort in that direction. Sometimes I fall backwards, but I continue to kind of press forward. And that's been through a lot, man. And I'm still trying to unpackage just other supernatural things that have happened to me, things I've seen, things I've felt. dreams I've had, um, um, and like the aspect of the Native American kind of upbringing that we brought. My mom used to say we were healers and stuff like that, but it's like, well, what does that fit in? Like I know the Bible talks about healing and faith, and then another thing I know I'm rambling too, but there's another thing that I used to couple into it was like, well, how can so much death happen in the name of God, right? And I'm starting to learn more about that and understand that. Because at the end of the day, it's like it's not it's not the word that's corrupt; it's people. I don't want to say they're corrupt, but that we are. I'm probably gonna lose some people here, but it's fine. Whether they want to realize it or not, we are in a spiritual battle every day, man. Like there are forces that affect us. Like like the cartoons back in the day. Yeah, one good and one bad, and the choice. This is what I feel. The choice that we make is people like to think will say like, well, it's not hurting anybody. I'm doing this thing like, and it's not affecting anyone. But I think it's the collective, the collective in the choices we make kind of tips the scales of of the majority doing bad or good, right? That's what I feel like. It's we don't exist in this world alone, and we affect each other whether we realize it or not. So when you factor in like social media and like like all these things that kind of tip the scales in one way, like the negative conversations, the negative um, sex, drugs, and rock and roll, and all that stuff, like it tips the scales in that balance, and we're influenced by those things. And we, if our leaders are doing it, then we're going to do it too, right? Like, or they're doing it, like in a unit, right? If you're more often than not, if your commander is saying it's okay to do these things, then most people are going to do them, right? But if they're not doing it, if they're like leading by example and doing the right thing, then more likely everyone's going to follow suit. I know I said
Yeah,
a
I don't
lot
think.
there.
No, you're good. It was awesome. I don't think anyone's going to be perfect this side of heaven. And anyone who says like, "Hey, I gave my life to Christ. I'm going to be perfect from here on out," they're going to be let down by themselves quite a bit. Um, and that's just something that they have to realize. Like even Paul said, "There's no greater sinner than I." Like
Yeah,
that's
that
that's
dude.
pretty
Yeah.
pretty hard to hear. He probably because he didn't meet me yet, but um, we're all yeah,
Yeah. You got to
we're
get him on the podcast.
yeah. It's a battle, man. Like, and then when you look back and you realize like my life choices have hurt people or
Mm,
resulted in pain, then that's something that your mind or the devil is going to use to be like, well, you're not really a Christian now. Look at what you did in the past. Well, that's in the past. Like I said, I don't have to be who I was 5 minutes ago. Like I'm trying to be better by living my life, building these routines. Like you're doing your devotions every day. I have my morning, evening prayer every day. I'm trying to bookend my day and fill it throughout so that I have these reminders and I'm making better choices than I did in the past. And I'm continuing to grow and develop myself and trying to incorporate it into my outlook and base my values on that. Am I perfect? No, far from it. Very far from it, but we're working. It's a lifelong effort. And if you read the lives of anyone who lived exemplary lives, like their life is an up and down. They have high highs, they have low lows, they have times where they feel completely alone. And then they persevere through that time of feeling completely alone. And then they realize that, oh, God had been there the entire time while they were alone. And it was an opportunity for them to actually grow closer. Like I've read, I read the biography of Mother Teresa, and while she was going through everything, while she was in Calcutta and going throughout India and setting up all her different places around the world, she felt distant from God. She's doing all this work and she's getting the Nobel Peace Prize and all these different prizes for the good that she's doing in the world. Yet she's struggling with her own journey and she's growing closer to God because of that, even though she feels cut off at times or dealing with her own darkness. So when we realize that it's something everyone deals with, then maybe more people will be more likely to reach out to a friend in their church, have that accountability, join a men's or a women's group or a young adult group or just something where they surround themselves with people that'll support them as they go through those ups and downs.
Yeah, that's one thing I'm learning is it's hard to do it on your own. Anything really, but more specifically that because you need your like your home base, if you will, right? Like that foundation of people that are like-minded people that are trying to progress in that way, right? Like be closer with God and like being vulnerable and sharing like what they're going through and vice versa, right? Because it is one of the most challenging things that I'm learning how to do. And it's like it's not easy. I mean, it's not easy, and that's why not everybody does it, right? It's easier um, to kind of be wild and just kind of not have any morals and just do whatever and just kind of lose it, right? And I think, yeah, that's why it's needed to have. I mean, and that's with anything, whether you're trying to be a better, I don't know, better at jujitsu or you're better at mountain biking, you want to be around people that are progressing to do that thing to be better at, right? And to kind of immerse yourself in that. Same thing if you're trying to get closer with God, and that's the things that I'm. My church is kind of far, so I mean it's a crappy excuse, but to try to, I want to be more. I plan to be more involved in like the men's group and stuff like that because I feel like I have something to offer as well. And I'm pretty sure there's folks there that are going through some of the stuff I'm going through, the same questions, and I do have a lot of questions. I think to a certain extent I'm kind of fearful because I don't want to seem like I'm trying to challenge their faith, but I do have questions that I want to ask, but I don't know who's the right people to ask those questions
Yeah.
to, you know what I mean? And not derail them from what they're trying to do. Um, but yeah, man, it's finding the right group of people. And luckily I have a text message group that I'm a part of. Guy that I've had on recently, uh, same thing. He's really trying to get in the word and understand. Came to Christ some time ago, and he's yeah, he brings forward like whatever he's learned that day and vice versa. And I don't think I've
Nice.
brought those questions to him yet, but I'm still kind of doing the research and understanding what I want to ask and how I want to ask it, and also at the same time, what do I want to get from that answer? Like I don't want to ask it just to ask it. Like I want to be prepared for whatever that answer could be, if that makes sense. And what that
Yeah,
means for me.
that makes complete sense. Um, Sometimes when I get asked a question, I'll say, if you get the answer you don't like, will you change anything?
Mm,
If I know someone's coming at me and they have a question, like they're trying to back you into a corner, right? They're like, hey, I got this approach. I know
yeah,
this is gonna trip them up, whether it's about mountain biking or podcasting or faith or anything.
yeah,
Like, are you actually willing to accept the answer? If you're asking me about something from my experience that I've gone through and I give you an answer that you don't like, are you willing to accept it, or are you still going to go and not change? Are you going to maintain a fixed mindset and be like, if he doesn't change to my perspective, then I'm not changing anything, you know? What about having a growth mindset of, if I don't get the answer I like, well, what does that actually impact? Um, what changes do I need to make then, right? That line up with the truth. And then that's like a big thing. You're talking about the echo chamber earlier. How about we talk about, there's no concrete truth right now. It's all relative. Um, and that, I think that's the hardest part, is if I go up to you and we're having a conversation about mental performance, and I say, hey, I have multiple peer reviewed studies here showing that visualization actually helps with recovering post-injury, with creating neural connections that'll help you develop skills quicker after your injury. And you say, I don't believe that. And you just turn your back on it, right? Like, to me, that's not real. So they're just not going to do it. They're not going to apply it, and they're missing out. Which I think that's like the broader truth of modern society is, to the majority of the world, truth is relative. And they don't realize that their decisions impact other people. I have a point. This is going somewhere. Trust me.
No, you're good.
So
I'm along for the ride,
what
man.
what I realized, hey, you, me, every person on this earth is going to die. Not only that, but you have small deaths throughout your entire life. So leaving the military, you leave a job, you leave a sports team, you graduate a school. These are deaths to that period of your life. When you die, when you separate from that period of your life, anything that you do not share, all your experiences, all your knowledge, all your wisdom, all your applications, all your shortcuts, all your relationships, all your methods of doing things, all your processes goes with you. Gone. Like, maybe you go back, you got a touch point with one person from an old team that you can mentor, but whatever you leave your leadership position, whatever you leave as a senior, whatever you leave from a position where people look up to you for answers and guidance and truth, leaves with you. And when I was finishing my team time, like, this was a huge reality. The team sergeant who left before me said, whatever you leave with that you didn't share to the guys goes with you, and they're going to hurt more because of that. So I made a decision, like, when I leave, everything that I know, every piece of knowledge, every experience, every piece of wisdom, every piece, anything that allowed me to grow my worldview, grow my capability, was going to be left with the dudes. And that carried over to mental performance, because now I'm back in a mentoring position, right? So now I have a lifetime of sports. I have a career in special operations. I've been deployed all over the world. I've run a nonprofit, and I have all these experiences, right? That I'm using this phase of my life to mentor into the next generation, just like what you're doing. So you talked about Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu tonight. You talked about MMA tonight. You talked about running a podcast and mountain biking, and it was all your experiences, right? These are all things that you learned, and they're internal to you, that you've applied in your life, and you've now shared with countless people across the world. Any story that you hold, like the few times you're like, oh, I don't know if I'm going there, or kind of cutting it short, any lessons learned that you hold back, that next generation doesn't get when you're gone. When the podcast ends, that reach is gone. So anything that you curate, anything that anyone out there decides to match to the algorithm to appease a AI computer algorithm or whatever, or to get more likes because you're worried people won't like it, that knowledge that you hold to yourself goes with you, right? So if we're not willing to ask a question, if we're not willing to share our knowledge, like, that's the door shut eventually. And then whatever you take with you, you take with you. Whatever you leave, but that's about it, right? So that was all over the place, but that was the final.
No, it was on target, man. And that's one of the things I hope with this podcast is kind of just throwing all my experiences, within reason, on the table, that people can pick up what they can from it, use what they can, and throw away what it doesn't apply to them.
Perfect.
Because I don't know, like, it's more specific to, well, I'm casting a wide net, but it's also directed at whoever's kind of going through it, right? Whoever's kind of doesn't have the answers, doesn't have somebody to talk to, doesn't have the can't see a way out of where they're at. And a lot of times the answer is right there. Like, but you're too close to the problem, right? Like if you're
Oh
standing
yeah.
up against a door and like the answer's right here and you can't look over because you're so focused on the problem. Yeah, it happens in conversations all the time, right? You're like talking to somebody and then they tell you something like, man, why didn't I think of that? Like, I know that answer. I'd give that answer all the time to people, but for myself, I can't use it. But in the conversation, right? It's, so one for the listener, whoever's like listening will pull something from it. Like, oh man, I didn't see it that way. Whether it's a life experience, whether it's trauma, what have you. And then they're like, oh man, like that person, at least I see someone like me, and now that's how they did it. Maybe I could try that at least, or maybe I could try something different, or they'll just hear it differently through their life experiences. And for the person I'm talking to, more often than not, I realize that it's not what I say to the person that helps them; it's what they say out loud to themselves. Because I feel like we all have the answers to our own problems. It's just
Hey, we're
when,
all working through it.
yeah, man. And when we say it out loud, you're like, damn, I never said that out loud, and that hits different when I say it out loud. So but yeah, it's these life experiences, and that's one of the things I tried to do when I was in was try to. I probably gave people too much information. I never understood why some people would hold on to the information. Um, and it wasn't everyone, but there were people that they like to be the keeper of this answer. Um, and I didn't understand that because I was like, you're not always going to be here, man. Like, why don't you just give them like tell them what you know?
I think they held on to it, and this is just a guess for me. Like, I think a lot of people hold on to it because like that's power. Like I got something you don't have. A lot of GWAT dudes, right? Like, oh, you didn't go to GWAT, you didn't go to Afghanistan, you didn't go to Iraq, you fuzzy sleeve or whatever they're gonna say, or like, hey, you didn't do VSO and all this, and instead of sharing these experiences, like, oh, you didn't do this, let me tell you like the big takeaways from it, right? Um, they're saying, oh, cherry, like you'll never know, man. Well, I'll never know because you're not going to share it. So you have this power over me, like you're a legend up there. But what good is it doing when I have to relearn that lesson that you learned through blood that I now have to learn through blood, right?
Hmm.
Like, why would we make the next generation do that? If we truly cared about the world, if I truly cared about my job, I'm going to invest in the next version doing my job. I'm going to care enough that everything I have is going to you to plus up what you have. And then I want to hear your perspectives on what I experienced. So now I have a second view of it because then we're both growing, right?
Mm-hmm.
If if someone leaves and they're holding on to a piece of knowledge for power for whatever reason, like you think it makes you better and gives you a step ahead, like you're handicapping the next generation for pride or ego or something like that. And you don't realize that. And it's hard to realize, like, as you become more of a senior guy. And I remember thinking this is there's going to be a time where they deploy without me. I was always willing to deploy again. Like, I'll stay a little longer because I have experience and I'm going to bring it to these guys. But there's going to be a point where I'm not bringing that experience and they're going to deploy without me. And then their next fight, if I don't give them every piece of knowledge, every like experience that I have, then if there's something that I hold inside me that causes them to get injured or even worse, that's on my shoulders.
Hmm.
And I don't think guys realize that. I think they look at it as like, well, I did it, you didn't. Like, here's my ego, here's my pride, I'm better than you, cool, cool, cool. CIB, rad, like look at me. And they don't look at it in the bigger picture. Like, there's ebb and flow, there's another war, like
Yeah.
there's always another war. I remember when I first came in talking to an old timer, and I was worried, like, hey, I went to Afghanistan, I was worried I wouldn't go to Iraq. I got to go to Iraq eventually, but I was worried I missed. And this old timer told me, he's like, there's always another war. Like, just if there's not a war right now, just wait a year or two, there's going to be another conflict, there's going to be another war, and that's the tradition of this country. Like, we'll have a period of peace, but it's not going to last very long. So if you think we're going into a peacetime army or a peacetime air force, you probably heard that a few times during your career. That's temporary. So we need to invest. Um, a big thing for me was I went in with a September 10th mindset, right? So you remember what happened September 11th. I was sitting in Miss Lil's accounting class. I was sitting across from my friend Hillary. Mr. Martin he was my next period afterwards, but someone ran in and told Miss Lil something in her office. She came out, turned the TV on, and we saw the first World Trade Tower burning, right? Like September 11th happened. So who are you on September 10th is the question. How prepared are you? Do you want to be the guy on September 10th who's like, oh man, I need to, we're on September 10th, you're kind of baseline, and then September 11th happens, you're like, oh man, I need to train hard? Or do you want to be the guy on September 10th that September 11th happens and they're like, that's the team we want to go. That's the team that's going because they're prepared. That's the guy I want to go put in this no fail position because he's prepared himself. He's mentally and physically and tactically prepared, right?
Yeah.
So when I found myself moving up through the ranks, and like I was a senior 7, and guys were looking to me for answers, like that's why I told them, I'm like, hey, it's September 10th. Like, be prepared. It's always September 10th. And then that means I always want to be at a state of readiness as much as possible. So should the next morning, like we wake up and, there's alerts going off, the news media is blowing up because something crazy happened, I don't want to say, oh, damn, I wish I trained better. Oh, we need to start focusing on this right now. Right.
Dude, you bring up an excellent point. I was in when I was September 11th. And I remember like the peace time, and then like that whole shift after that, and after that was just a wild ride. Obviously our rides were different, but when I retired, dude, I wanted nothing. I mean, granted, I was in a good place. I'm going to your point. And going back to like supernatural kind of stuff, like when I retired, I I guess partly wanted to be like the fat retiree, right? Just kind of just like, watching movies, football, whatever, doing whatever I thought retirement was. But something didn't allow me, man. I'm not sure if it was the military, because I don't think I was as driven as I am now to be prepared, right? As a I think I'm more prepared now than I was in the military. Granted, that was probably stress, deployments, like just being tired and drinking and all kinds of other stuff. Not really in the right mindset, not sleeping. I didn't know I had sleep apnea until I got out of the military. I was always tired. Either way, as we know, with sleep, lack of sleep, cortisol, all that stuff, right? Um, but I've had this like resounding message in my head that is like prepare, prepare, prepare. And it was pretty once I started doing it, like so I guess I say all that to say like I I didn't ever get to the place where I was just kind of September 10th. If anything, I was just like, I need to amp it up. I don't know what's coming, but I'd rather be the crazy guy, but like, hey, something's coming, and then like I'm prepared, and then nothing happens. I'd rather that scenario happen. But back in probably when I interviewed the last time, around that time, I had this intuition or whatever it's like to prepare, and I didn't know what that meant, right? But I just like I need to stay active. I need to just do the things. I need to learn skills. I need to. So that's what I've been doing, right? That's what I've been doing the last 7 years. And I'm not saying that I am where I need to be, or am I the most skilled, but I do feel I can hold my weight to a certain extent, right? When it comes to like certain skills that I may not be privy to just yet, that I may lack in, but I feel like I could learn that. But I say that to say like, yes, September 10th, like that's kind of been my mindset, even though I didn't call it that, is to be better than I was in the military. I wish I was this. more aware of a person when I was in it. That way I could have been a better leader, been more active. And not to say I was a shitbag, but you know what I mean? I just looking back, I could have been a
Yeah.
better person. I could have, because even though, yes, we have influence with our rank or not, right? Our charisma, right? We can lead people in the wrong direction or the right direction. And I'm not saying I don't feel I was always the best leader to lead people in the right direction. Again, at work, yes, that was one thing, but off duty, sometimes I probably didn't lead in the right ways, if that makes sense. And
No, that makes sense. I think so I use it in like a military uh concept, right? Application there. But like that whole September 10th thing can fit anywhere. Like what you're doing right now, you don't know where the conversation's going to go. Anytime you have someone on the podcast, you don't know if I'm going to rant, rave, whatever, but you can always be prepared for it. You don't know if all your equipment's going to go down, but you can read the manuals, right? You can be as prepared as possible. Um, you don't know if that like big guest that's going to change the world, change hearts, minds, get people to be active and engage is going to hop on. So being prepared for how you're going to deal with it. This is all how we apply that same concept to outside the military, right? I don't know if the next athlete I work with is going to be dealing with like underlying mental health concerns. So I have relationships with a mental health provider that's licensed in every area that I have an athlete right now. So that if that happens, I can do a warm introduction. Here's someone that I've talked with, I've built rapport with. I can do an introduction and it's not just like, hey, go find a stranger, right?
mm,
So we set these processes, this knowledge in place so that should the big day come, whatever it is, like you're ready for it. Um, yeah, man, that was
yeah, I mean, yeah, and like I said, like I'm preparing for whatever, right? And at the very base, when people ask me, like, I mean, it's far and few between, but like, hey, like, why do you do all the stuff you do? And I'm just like, and I don't think I'm the first one to say this, but it's like, I'm just preparing for life, like whatever,
yeah,
want to be in the best health that I can be to have the best quality of life that I can to enjoy it, right? To see the things I got to see, like to do, dude, 2 years ago, I don't know, I talked to you. Speaking of performance, I've never dreamed or ever considered the idea of doing like an endurance hike, right? And was it we were going on a hike with some friends of ours that were hosting like a monthly hike that were going, some ranger guys, and they the first hike, it was like my buddy David was like, hey man, you want to go to Scotland on a 54-mile hike?
oh,
And
that
I was
sounds rad.
like, that's I was in this season where I was learning how to say yes to things and not be like so um like not wanting to take a spot, right? And like no, like like I don't deserve that or whatever, right? Because I was just like I need to allow that flow to kind of go backwards, like not just, this is gonna sound strange for me to say this, but like giving so much of my time to do these things, right? But like I didn't really allow any of that stuff to come back all the time. I would always kind of like no, like I would always fight it. But I was like, if God's trying to like bless you with something, like I mean, not to say I really believe in God the way I did now, but if that energy is trying to come backwards, why are you going to force it away, right? You never know what that opportunity is going to bring. And it brought a lot, man. It brought a lot. And that brought like a profound experience because I'm the type of person that doesn't do a whole lot of research into into something like that, and my wife is. So like the week of the trip, she was like, "Did you know that this 54-mile hike is in 24 hours?" And I
Oof.
was like, "I do now," you know. And so I was just like, "I'm gonna show up and do what I got," I don't know, but I mean, there's a lot more to it, man. I'll share off the podcast later. But the week prior to that, I had an encounter with that same voice, the same prepare that, um, and I've talked about it on here. Maybe I'll share it. But it's one of those supernatural things I can't explain. But it led me through it, and the way that everything kind of unfolded on that hike is the reason why I am where I am, to try to better understand like my connection, my understanding of God. Because
That's so awesome.
yeah, dude, like I mean, I'll kind of give a quick. So the week of, like, after she told me that, I was just kind of sitting down, just kind of processing it all. Like, man, am I ready for this thing? And I was just sitting on the couch in my living room, and whether you want to call it meditation, I wasn't really praying at the time. And I just that same voice. And it's not like something like audible, but just like that still small voice, whether you want to call it the Holy Spirit, or I'm not sure. But I know it's like it's always led me in the right way, right? Like to keep me out of trouble as a kid or whatever. That intuition, that gut feeling, or whatever you want to call it, whatever people call it. But it said next week you're gonna meet God in Scotland. And I was like, what does that mean? Like, am I gonna
Mm.
die? Right? Um, and I didn't know what it meant. I was kind of fearful, and I I didn't know what it meant, man. And I still went. I was like, well, if the plane goes down, at least I don't know. Like that's the way I was supposed to go. I'm not really sure. I told my wife about it, and she didn't. It probably scared her more than anything. Um, but when I started on that hike through the Highlands of Scotland, uh, every once in a while, like, dude, like I was just walking, and yeah, don't get me wrong, it's beautiful there, but it's not. I've never been anywhere so beautiful that it's moved me to the point of like wanting to cry. And as I was hiking, I would just start to cry, dude. And I would just like, what is going on, man? Like people were trying to walk by, and I'm like trying to like turn away, and I wasn't sad, I wasn't, but there was just like this, like I don't know, man. I mean, whether it was endorphins that were being rushed, I mean, I think two things can be true at the same time. But I was it was like a shedding of self. It was tough. Like the first 22 miles, dude, I was limping like crazy, especially on the downhill, because it's pretty steep. And then every time I thought about like quitting, or the idea came in my head, that same thing would come up, and it would be like, if you keep coming, I'll show you more. And I was like, so I just kept going, man. And then what was interesting about it was like I was on my own for a long time, because there was only like 12 of us, and we got separated because it's a yomp. It's your own marching pace. And so I'm like hiking along, whatever. And then I got like another time, it was like beware of the sirens. I was like, I don't really Greek mythology that much to even use that word. Like I know what a siren is, but I don't use that word. And so like about mile 36, I get to the tent, and it's a what's the word? It's a supported hike. There's like every 7 miles, there's like food,
Oh,
like
that's cool.
snacks and drinks and stuff, and you're doing it with coalition forces, right? The whole event is geared towards raising money for uh, it's the benevolent fund, and they're trying to raise money for the UK forces, since they don't have the same resources as we do, by providing stuff for their families that people got KIA downrange or what have you, right? So they're trying to raise money for their forces, and there's people from like Italy, France, Aussies, the gambit, right? And people trying to. So I get to like mile 36, and then I didn't think about it till the next day. But I get to mile 36, they can't find my pack, because I staged the pack up because I was planning to do like the 54 in one night. I could have. I didn't know I could have stopped at 22 or 36. But once I kind of learned at 22, I could have stopped. When I got to 36, I'm tired. I'm limping really bad. Um, And I'm like, should I go on? Is it worth it to go on? Because my knee is like locked up. And I get there and they have freaking pizza. They have like masseuse. They have uh, people just kind of looking after you. They made me eat first before, because I'm like, I'm gonna go see if I can get this like mashed out or something so I can continue on. But man, these ladies were so nice and so like, and especially in the Scottish voice where everything sounds very like welcoming, and you know what I mean. It was just like those voices started coming in my head, like just like you've gone far enough. You've exceeded your expectations. You can just stop here. You know, you could just relax here. And they were like massaging. I was there for like, because they couldn't find my pack. They didn't want to let me go on. You can't go. So it was two things. You can't go on by yourself. And they took off my clothes to massage me. And then my clothes were wet from hiking. So they're like, and it was cold. So they're like, we can't let you go until you find your pack. So it took them a while to find my pack. They were going to keep me back, like pull me off, because they didn't want me to get hypothermia. And then, but everything worked out exactly how it was supposed to, because the last group, there was like a, a, a guy that he's like an endurance athlete, that he's like I call him the poor man's David Goggins, but because he's a civilian. He does that like just to raise money for vets. He's not a vet himself. He's from Scotland. And he was about to leave, and they had just at that time he was about to leave, they find my pack. And dude, this dude was God sent, man, because he was literally lighting the path for me, like to like show me where to walk, show me how to where to step, where not to step, like all the lines. He was showing me all the lines, talking to me. We had a like heart to heart conversation. We both kind of shared like some of our struggles, and he got us through to the end, man. If there was a camera that was following us like the last 7 miles, it would have been like something like, because of how hard he was pushing us, how much we were hurting, all these things, right? As the sun was rising, all these things, right? But the way from start to finish, man, the way everything happened, like I did experience God, but like it was in the way of the people, and the way that it gave me like a new faith in humanity, if that makes
Oh,
sense.
that's awesome.
And so I know that sounds wild to say, and anybody listening to, like, I even question, like, am I losing my stuff, right? By saying this to the way people are, but I had to experience some time back, and it was like, pretty much what I got from it was like, don't edit yourself. So that's what I'm doing. That's my testimony of like one of the many crazy experiences that has brought me closer to God. And I can't explain it. I don't know. I mean, how do you explain something that's like something we can't understand, such as God, like the supernatural? That's the only word I can think of.
Well, Saint Augustine of Hippo said, if I can understand God, then he's not God.
Yeah. That's
I mean, we're
well
talking
said.
about something that is outside of creation, outside of time, who's omnipresent, who knows everything. And it's a concept that doesn't align with anything within our existence. So if we can truly grasp this, then it would be something within existence, and it would not be God, right?
Yeah. Dude, when I ended, and which is, I'll just say this last part. When I ended it, excuse me, when I stopped and I finally sat down, dude, I started freaking, I called my wife because I hadn't talked to her the whole time. I just started like crying, dude. Not like, falling on the floor or nothing, but just like, it was just like a shedding of self, if you will. Like whatever,
Yeah.
I kind of left it all there. And whether it was adrenaline dump or whatever, like I said, both things could be true. But then last year, 2020, that was in 2023, 2024. What year are we in? 2024, that was that year that happened. 2025, I got to take my wife, right? She got invited with me. And I got to be what Neil was for me, I got to be for her.
That's awesome.
And I got to take, dude, I have a newfound respect for her and her grit and her endurance, because I got to see her push through, even though the longest hike she did before that was 9 miles because she got hurt. and she pushed through all the way to 54 miles, dude. Or it's more like
Oh, that's
58
so rad.
in 24 hours, dude. And so, yeah, I mean, I'll just leave that there. I don't know what else to say, but yeah, it was pretty life changing in that way to experience and overcome the constant negative thoughts and the pain and all the things that come
Yeah.
within that feat. Um, it, yeah, man, human body's pretty amazing.
No, that's incredible. One of the things I really enjoy about like working with people dealing with negative self-talk is like naming it. So like, hey, my negative self-talk, I'm gonna name Steve. And then it pops up and imagine you're on that walk with your wife and like someone's just nagging at you, just like, hey, you're not gonna make it. Like, you suck. What are you doing? You're limping last time. Like, you're not gonna be any better. What would you turn and say to like that person?
You ask me?
Yeah, I'm
Um,
asking you.
I don't know, man. I just usually ignore it. But it's interesting. It's an interesting thought experiment to figure out what I would say to it. Um, One thing I did notice, I'll kind of take it back to in the beginning when one thing I found myself doing, which I haven't done in a very long time, was when I went in with the intent of that one training session last week in jujitsu of like the fighter's mentality, right?
Yeah.
Um, I found myself like starting to like when I started to get tired of talking to myself, of saying like you're you're better than like you're like well, I don't know what I was saying, but it was like stuff that I haven't done like in a very long time, but that came to the surface. It was like that self motivation that was like I guess psyching myself out, but not like in a overt way, but it was just kind of like saying these positive things to myself, or like to motivate myself. And that was one thing I didn't expect to come from setting that intent because I hadn't been there before. I normally just don't say anything and just keep pushing.
No, right on. I'm super interested about the 54-mile like journey. Like, I want to hear like what's if you're up for it, like let's dig
Yeah,
into it a little bit. Like,
go
what is
shoot, man.
something that you took? What did you take from your first time through that you saw appear through your recent like BJJ training?
Can you ask that question differently? Like,
Okay, like what do you have to do? What did you take from that experience over the 54 miles that when you reflect on your more recent
okay.
training, you see it appearing?
Um, I think when I get tired or when I am in pain, I'm able to kind of dig deeper, like because I know I've done it before. Like I know what it's like to be hallucinating. I know what it's like to be hungry. I know what it's like to, and it's like none of those things are happening right now. You're just tired. Like this is a yes, you're tired, or you're like short burst energy tired, but you're not like you still got more in the tank. Like you still got a lot
Yeah.
more in the tank, and you've been through a lot more than this. And I also can do that. I pull from my when I was in my deepest depression. Is just like the pain that you're in right now is nowhere equal to the pain you were in then. Um, and I don't always dip into that, but to tie it into the 54 miles, and especially doing it twice, not that I'm bragging or nothing, but like that does something, right? Where it's like now it's like I even talked to my friend David. I was like, I'm thinking about doing it back and forth. Like, how can I
That'd
do
be
that?
wild.
Like, can I? 'Cause there's been other people that do that. Like some of the Scots do that, right? That are from there. They do it back and forth. But I'm like, but for me, it's like, what is that next thing? That's the one thing, like, question I stayed lingering. It's like, yeah, okay, you've done that. Like, what's next? What else can you do? What else are you capable of? Like, you need to challenge yourself.
Yeah. So how doing that hike with your wife impact how you work with other people going through hard times? Do you have like a new method of communication during hard times with people? Are you able to have greater empathy and relate to their pain because you've gone through that and had to be the one who is encouraging and highlighting the route?
Yeah, yes. I mean, it taught me with other people like to be like empathetic. And this is gonna sound jacked up, but I feel like I've always been more empathetic to other people than I have my wife. I mean, what I mean by that is I've been that experience taught me how to be more empathetic towards her.
Oh,
Um,
that's good.
because that was like real, right? And I'm not saying it's real, but like, like the little, nitpicking arguments, not that we get in a lot of them. We have a uh, pretty good communication, like through therapy and all these other things that we've been through. But, that kind of like really, that was like, especially like with her last 5 miles, she was like teetering on, and I could have been a better motivator, but I was like, one, I didn't want to have the guilt of something happening to her, and making
Yeah.
it, you know what I mean? Like, come on, you got this, push through. And then she collapses, right? Because when she was kind of making that call, there was an ambulance right there. And I was probably like the little devil on her side. I was like, hey man, there's an ambulance right here. You can, if you're not ready, like, you can stop, whatever. Right. And that's one takeaway that I have is like, I could have been like, I believe in you, that you can do this, but if you want to stop, I could have motivated and at the same time gave her a way out at the same time. Does it make sense? As opposed to kind
No,
of
that
like,
makes complete sense.
as opposed to just kind of leaving it all on her. So that's what it taught me, was that I could have motivated her to push forward like more, as opposed to just kind of leaving it up to her. But selfishly, I didn't want something to happen to her, and then I would have that on my conscience, or, you know what I mean? Because I didn't know
No, I understand.
truly where she was at. So
Yeah.
that it gave me a better understanding for her and what she's capable of. I knew she was a badass, dude, but like not to that extent, right? Um, because that's not easy, man. That's yeah. It's interesting because her and I have had this conversation where we've done it and we're like, we kind of chalk it away. It's just like, well, that was wild and that we got lucky, kind of thing, but not really appreciate the experience for what it was
Yeah.
and what we endured. Because when you actually think about it and you break it down, you're like, that's something else. That's something a lot of people are not willing, especially a couple, to do. And then I'm pretty sure we didn't argue once. I'm pretty sure. I'm not saying I didn't piss her off, but like
Yeah.
she didn't at least let on. Maybe I might have said something. I don't know, because I don't know what's like. I don't remember ever getting like in an argument at all. Um, but I'm not to say that, we're hungry, we're tired, all these things, right? I know I pissed her off because she didn't say it, but like the last five, they changed the course. So I was like, oh
Yeah.
yeah, it's just around right here, and then we got this and this, and then we get there and it's completely different. We're going through like woods, we're going through like this up and down, and it wasn't part of the course. Before it was through the city, and it was like meandering and all these things, which is hard on its own because you're on concrete. But this time, I guess it was the original course, and they had a storm go by and it knocked down a bunch of trees. So they cleared it for the second event that we did, but it wasn't part of the first one. So like the way I remember the course was completely different. So imagine like thinking like, man, it's almost over. He's saying he's done this before, and then it's like, oh my bad. Hey, we still got more. Oh
Oh
man, we
man,
still
a
got
false
more.
summit.
We still got
Yeah.
more. Exactly, false summit. So that I'm pretty sure was wrecking her mentally. But yeah, when we got done, man, I wanted her to sit down. I was primarily focused on her. And yeah, one thing I did learn was I had these, because we started at different paces, and then she caught up to me because my knees started locking up again. and she caught me at bronze. And then, but one thing I learned was my personal goals fell by the wayside because I just wanted her to finish. So my personal goals of completing it in a certain time went by the wayside because I was just like, let's just finish together. I want you to have this, you know? And, but it wasn't easy to let those go because my ego and what I thought I could do. But it, and I'm not saying it took a long time, but it did take a little bit longer than I looking back, I wish it would have. But like to put that aside and to meet her goals, that gave me like a, I don't know, it just meant more to do that for her. Does that make sense?
No, that makes complete sense. I mean, you guys accomplished this feat together, right? Like you did it already the previous year, and now, yeah, you did have that speed goal, but you have this other person that you dedicated your life to who's also doing it, and the fact that you guys accomplished that together in reliance upon each other, overcoming the same obstacles together. It doesn't matter if it was like a water crossing or hard concrete. The fact that you're doing it together and you have this shared suffering just makes it have so much more worth because you're sharing it with someone who's not just there for the race. Like, cool, we both got the same shirt. Maybe we'll take a picture together at the end. See you later. Probably never again. You're carrying those experiences, those trials, and those victories together through the rest of your life together.
Yeah.
Like that weight is going to be there. Those accomplishments are going to be there, and something that when times get tough, you can fall back on and say, look what we did together.
Yeah. And I think the tough times is what allowed us to be able to do that together. The tough times that I put it through um, allowed us to, and the communication styles and the work we did to learn each other and our communication styles and what have you, definitely paid dividends in that experience and allowed us to not lose our shit with each other, you know,
Yeah.
and like really listen to each other and be there for one another and to get that done. Cause I think if it was the other way around, like probably want to got it done.
How did your communication style change after that race compared to before with your wife?
I think it's changed in the way it's going to sound jacked up, but I have like a deeper level of respect for her. And then whenever I do kind of get a little like snarky or whatever, I like I catch myself quicker. You know, does that make sense?
Complete.
Because it's just like I know you're like I said earlier, I know you're tough, but this is a whole different level. Like to see like step for step. I mean, aside from the first 22 miles, like to see you endure through rain and cold, and she hates the cold, and like all these things, man, and to persevere and get to the end where she couldn't even walk, like after the event. Like it took her like a day or so to be able to walk. Because her muscles are so and her ligaments are so tight. That's what it was for me the first year. I couldn't walk, dude. I was like carrying my leg over steps and stuff. But this year it was a bit longer. We were on the ground. But either way, it was something else, man. It was special, definitely.
Oh man, what a great experience then. Like
Yeah,
not just doing the actual event, like that's an awesome experience, but the fact that reflecting on it, you can see the impact it had on strengthening your marriage. Like that makes the event even better.
yeah, yeah, definitely. I'm just thinking about it. Like, of course, we all often kind of fall back into our because I'm trying to be as honest as I can, and I'm just like as I'm saying these things, I'm like, did I mess up last week? Did I say that? Like, but no, no. For the most part, overall, like we do communicate differently. We do see. At least I see her differently, in the way of what we're capable of and what we can persevere. And then going back to the conversation about, I guess, readiness or September 10th kind of mindset, because that's the way I want to I don't want her to be solely dependent on me, if that makes sense. Like if stuff hits the fan, like I think I try to bring her along where she's self-reliant. Like if I die tomorrow, I want her to be able to maintain, and not saying that she would fall apart because I'm gone, but what I'm saying is that she can carry on for her and her family in the way that, like, if I was still here. Does that make sense? Like, she's self-reliant enough in like physically, mentally, um, skill wise, and that event kind of was another like rung for her to learn about herself, what she's capable of. Does that make sense?
Yeah, completely.
Because I don't know, it'd be challenging for me to be with a partner that is constantly like falling apart and stuff. Does that make sense? Like where I'm like I need you
No, that
to
makes complete sense.
like hold like meet me halfway, like hold your own, within within
Yeah.
means. You know what I mean?
So one, doing that event showed you a strength and resilience, a perseverance to be able to follow through difficult things, even to the point of not being able to walk. Like increased your faith in her ability to do hard things, and probably her faith in you to be able to do hard things twice. Like it wasn't a fluke that you did it once, you just did it again, and you did it with her. And like being able to see the strength in someone else in such a way that um hopefully like you told it to her, like, man, I'm so proud of you and you're truly strong, and you're highlighting these things that you observe in her. So it's not just uh well, we fell in love however many years ago when we got married, and I only talked about how great you were back then, but I'm still experiencing new things about you. You still wow me. I'm still learning and growing, and our marriage is developing because we're not the teens or however old you guys were when you met, but you're still new people becoming different people, and you're still growing together. And by saying like, hey, I see how strong you are, like whether you told her or she hears it on this podcast, like
Yeah.
she's going to see that you're seeing this development and growth. And um, hopefully that's something you guys were able to share in like a conversation afterwards.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I told her afterwards, and I probably don't tell her enough. But I definitely showed her my appreciation for like what she did, like because I was obviously concerned because she couldn't walk. So I went into town. I bought like I didn't want to buy fast food or nothing, so I went, and thankfully we had a kitchen we could cook in Scotland. So I want to go buy a whole chicken, some potatoes, and I made like a homemade dinner so
Oh,
that way
right
she
on.
can come downstairs and eat like a nutritious meal so she could
Yeah.
recover. Uh, but yeah, man, that was another way to show her like hey, like you deserve this and more. And that's kind of one of the ways that I show my appreciation for people was by cooking for them. Like if you were here,
Nice.
I would cook for you, like for the people I have in
I'm
the
coming.
come on down.
I'm coming down. I'm
Yeah.
bringing my bike. We're doing this.
Yeah, dude. And now I got extra bikes in here. But yeah, dude, I cook for them. We chat, we eat, and then the conversation stays afterwards. But yeah, I love to cook, and yeah, man. Um,
Man, so it was almost like a new honeymoon, right? Where you learned something new about each other,
yeah, it
cooked a
was
really good meal.
it was a hell of a honeymoon.
Yeah.
Definitely. Yeah, because
Nice stroll in the wild.
yeah, it was just because it was not just because, as you know, right? Like you do any type of that's what bonds a team, right? Is
Yeah.
having this shared, I don't want to say traumatic experience, but like it's trauma bonding, right? Like you're having this intense experience together, and then y'all get through it, and it's like, wow, that was crazy, but you guys are closer. And the same thing, similar, granted different in its own way, its own like challenges and its own, I don't know, man. It's, and then to experience it in such a place that's like so remote, and so beautiful and um what's the word? I don't want to say austere, but it's not like you're walking on level ground all the time, especially when it
Yeah.
rains and then there's like a bunch of like holes when you're walking like through sheep fields and then the ground's soggy and mushy and you're wet, you're cold, you're yeah, and I never experienced. So going back to the performance thing, I never thought I could experience the flow state in hiking the way I did then. Like I've hit like spurts of it in riding bikes. I've hit spurts of it in running. I've hit spurts of it in like football, but it's like these small windows, right? But in hiking, or at least in this, like there was like it seemed like minutes, if not hours. You're just kind of like
Oh, nice.
it's and it's bananas, man. Like because it's you would think it in my mind. Have you ever read the book The Rise of Superman?
I have.
Okay, so that book it talks about flow state, right, and chasing.
Yeah.
So I would think it was just associated with like extreme sports, but no, man. Like with hiking, and it's something that anybody can do any day. I mean, assuming that they're able to, you know,
Yeah.
um, and you can experience this. I don't know, man. Like it's like this. You're you're connecting with something that is so at the basic movement of all humans, right? Um, and I don't know, man. You think about like people used to walk around all the time everywhere back in the day. They didn't have cars. They didn't have horses. They would walk for. I mean, going back to Jesus, he was walking like when he walked to that wedding, was it like 40 or 50 miles? Like,
And you ever look at that map? He all over the
yeah,
place.
all the
Yeah.
and they're walking everywhere, man. And something else, man. I'll just say that it's and so many people are unaware of what is at their I don't want to say their fingertips, but if
The
they would
toe
just
tips.
what's that?
Yeah. At their toe tips,
At
right?
their toe
Just
tips. If
yeah.
they just kind of got outside and then got to that discomfort, and the more discomfort you have, the less like it'll be it's it's like anything else, man. You build a I don't want to say callous, but you build a resilience to it, and it's um it's something that is almost undescribable. I'm having the trouble. I'm having
Yeah.
trouble trying to explain it right now.
You're you're expanding your bandwidth for discomfort.
Yeah,
There's a lot of people who protect themselves from discomfort. They're like, I don't want to be uncomfortable, you know. Uh, I'll go glamping. I'll go stay in a cabin, or like that's just a simple example. Or they don't want to have a difficult conversation, or something as simple as when people watch a TV show now, they can fast forward through any like uncomfortable scene, like, oh, a kid's getting in trouble, I'm going to fast forward through this because I'm uncomfortable. Where growing up, like you watched it because, well, you can't really do much except change the channel. So I want to still see the show, so I'll just have to get through this uncomfortable moment, basically inoculating you with these like micro uncomfortable experiences, right? But now there's a lot of people who fast forward through shows. They choose not to read about different topics. Going back to algorithms, we're in an echo chamber. So we're not really seeing things that make us uncomfortable. We don't have the social tie in. So we're not having uncomfortable experiences out there. So maybe the answer to a lot of problems is that that bandwidth for discomfort has slowly decreased and it's closing because people are protecting themselves from an early age and they need to step out and get uncomfortable. They need to go learn how to mountain bike, or they need to go do a hike, maybe not a 54-mile hike in Scotland, but
yeah,
like go walk up a mountain, challenge yourself, choose something that looks just out of your grasp and pursue it.
yeah, yeah. And it's yeah, that's one thing I learned. And people will. That's a new word. People are more capable than they led themselves to believe, and that comfort, like death by comfort, is definitely the reason for that.
Oh yeah.
And you don't have to climb a mountain. Go for a walk and then around the block and then 2 blocks, 3 blocks, and try a trail. And then if you're worried about getting lost, there's a bunch of apps. And if you get lost, just go back the way you came. Like if you have to leave
Yeah.
breadcrumbs, or not breadcrumbs, but something, like there's so much more in this world than the screen in front of you. Um, and
Yeah. What's something you don't really want to do right now, but you know would be good for you? Like just do that. I
yeah,
don't know where to start. What's something that's uncomfortable for me but would be good for me? Why don't I go walk my neighborhood? Well, it's late. I just ate dinner. I'm kind of full. Go put your shoes on and walk. It's uncomfortable, but you'll get out there. You'll be glad you did it.
especially after
And
a meal.
oh yeah,
Yeah, helps you
helps with
digest.
digestion. Yeah,
Yeah,
helps with inflammation. Good to go.
yeah,
But I think you're spot on with that. Like, go do something. Get out of your comfort zone.
yeah, man. You said it, man. And I, dude, I appreciate this conversation, man. I appreciate you coming on and sharing so much. Is there anything you wanted to talk about before we sign off today?
Oh man, we covered a lot of topics.
Yeah, we
A
did.
whole we went all over the place. I appreciate it. I really appreciate a chance of catching up again. I hope we don't wait another 4 years before we catch up again.
Yeah,
Like,
man.
hope we stay in contact a little more. I'll get down there and do some mountain biking, or meet you in Bentonville for some mountain biking.
Dude, yeah, there's a, if you're interested, I can share this information with you, but we have retreats coming up. I don't know how often you ride. We got one in Utah that we did last year. It was 100 miles in 4 days. But we went through the White Rim of Utah, through the National Ability Center. So we're partnering. The Direct Therapy Project is partnering with the National Ability Center. We had kind of primed the conversation when we were there, and then Jonathan spoke with them. So they're going to be doing it in the fall of this year. I think it's September. But if you can get
That
on with
sounds
that one,
awesome.
man, it's like a week long, and that's, I don't know if you've ever been to the White Rim of Utah.
I
That's
have
like,
not.
it's like you're on a different planet, and they have bikes there you could borrow. It's a supported. You'll have a truck following along and good dudes. I don't know if we're going to be on it. We got to do it this last year. We want more other people to kind of go, but that'd be definitely one. I can send you like sign up for the distro list, and you can.
Yeah, please.
Yeah, man. Those are opportunities there. Plus, you get to connect with other vets and stuff that just out there, like-minded people trying to, experience nature and have good conversations and stuff, man. But yeah, man, let's not wait 4 years. I got an extra bedroom here. If now we can throw some mats out, if you want to bring your family or whatever, we'll figure it out. But yeah, I appreciate you. I appreciate everything you're doing. I appreciate you giving me those tidbits about 4 years ago. I still use them to today. And yeah, I really
I'm so
enjoyed.
stoked to hear that.
Yeah, man, I enjoyed this conversation really. It was kind of funny how you kind of turned it, and I was being interviewed, but I appreciate that, man. That's good. Because sometimes it's like me trying to ask all the questions, but it's good when it goes back and forth, man. That's what I really enjoy.
Yeah, it was a good time, man. I truly appreciate it, and thank you for your time.
Yes, sir. And so for any folks listening, thank you for listening, giving me your time. And a little tip for conversations such long as this one is this, take it in, listen to 30 minutes at a time. There's always these little nuggets you can pull from it if you're willing to kind of sit through the conversation, especially this one. I feel like there was a lot of things that you can apply to your life, learn from. And if you feel this will help anybody else, please share this. I'm going to share Tyler's information in the description. You can seek coaching from him, learn more about what he's doing with Peregrine Rising, and his website and everything. As you know, he's a good dude. Everything he shared here. Thank you for your time, your presence. Yeah, thank you.
Oh man, appreciate it.
I'm just going to stop recording.